Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers2KNow on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Edmund, your host for the next few hours, along with Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nick is going to join us later. Must be waking up late, slacking. Our numbers, 919-518-9773, Computers2K Voice on Skype. And this morning's show is being brought to you by that vidblasterguy.com, Tom Sinclair, and by Adamus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. And today is June 29th, 2014. Interesting. Why is Daily Motion? I hope we're going to Daily Motion.
Which one is the default?
Daily Motion, and it's buffering on me.
Here.
Huh?
It's playing here.
Okay. Well, mine is buffering, so it must be something to do with my... Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, it's still buffering, though. Oh, well. T1 must be busy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I monitor on the T1, so it's a completely different network. So what's going on, Mike?
Well, somebody was asking me yesterday about a T1, about why people still have them.
A lot of places you can't get anything but. And besides, for me, DSL or cable is not going to cut it for what I use the T1 for. The T1 is part of my ISP, and I have a few servers over here at home. And to connect them to the data center, you have to have good quality line. The lucky thing is that it's not that expensive because it's only point to point. It doesn't have IP on it. There's no internet on it. The internet comes from the data center, so it's fine.
Is are the charges for it distance based? It
Yes.
would be more expensive to go to Charlotte than to Raleigh.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had people that asking me if they can get a T1, and I asked them, first thing is, where are you? And they're like in Greensboro. And I said, no, you need to find somebody in Greensboro that can provide you with a T1, because the longer you go, the more expensive it is. Yes, absolutely.
And they're still available?
Oh, T1s are available and always will be available. I mean, like Marshall just moved from Wilson to Elm City. And it's a big office building. And the best they can do there is 1.5 down and 768 up DSL.
You're kidding.
No. So we discussed it, and he ended up getting a T1 from CenturyLink there. Now, he was used to having green light at 10 down and 2 up. and that's going to hurt a little bit. But maybe, and you know what's the weird thing is that he's right on 301. And apparently, along 301, you have Time Warner, Sprint, AT&T, some of the big names, but none of them will hook that little office complex to their cable, except CenturyLink. So I don't know if that's because CenturyLink has a monopoly, kind of like say, hey guys, you don't come in here, we're here.
Well, if it's a really small area, that's not exactly a whole lot of business to spread around.
It doesn't matter. I mean, all they have to do is just splice into it. I mean, it's literally on 301. Literally.
Nah. They have to put amplifiers, termination equipment, decoders, demultiplexers, multiplexers.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's just splice into the coax.
But it seems to me like it's more money.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, if he's got bad internet at the business, that means the employees are going to have to actually get work done.
That's true too. I'll mention it to him.
Yeah. I don't think, I mean, 1 meg is hardly enough to get email, is it?
Well, you see, when you go with 1.5 meg T1, it's a lot faster than 1.5 meg cable or DSL because of the way that it works. I mean, he had DSL for about 2-3 weeks. They installed it temporarily until the T1 was up. And when he got the T1, he said, wow, this is fast. And it is. It's sort of like when you go from a 56K modem to a 64K ISDN. The ISDN seems like 10 times faster.
So is he 1.5 up and down on the T1?
T1 is symmetric. But
it's 1.5, right?
Yeah.
1.54 or something like that.
Yeah, 1.54 up and down.
And what do you have to pay for something like that in these days?
His price was for a 3-year was $300 and some a month. I mean, it is a dying commodity, but it's still it's a very slow decline. I mean, I had about 8 or 9 customers with T1s over the years at the height, and now there's none. There are none because for a business, for the office, you can go with DSL or cable for doing every day. But I mean, you guys, you have TW Telecom too, right?
I don't know what would know.
I thought you said.
I think ours is Windstream.
Oh. Well, Windstream does symmetrical.
Yeah, we're 50 up and down.
Okay, yeah. So that's not DSL or cable.
What is it?
It's a T something. I don't know, 50. I never. It's probably 100 megabit that they throttle. Because there's no T something. There's T1, T3, and you go and it's always in multiples of 1.54s and 45 megabit and so forth. But it's nice. I mean, when you have huge files to send and receive, like in a law firm, yeah, you need good connectivity.
There are times of the day whenever it's stressed.
Wow.
But we also have like 30 servers running on it too.
Yeah, every little bit, and that's why, I mean, you couldn't survive with cable or with DSL. There's no way.
Just because of what? Just because the infrastructure is not as solid? I mean, I don't understand the technology behind it. I would lie if I said that I understand exactly why, but the
quality and the protocol apparently are more refined. You have to be in the carrier business to understand this, and I don't pretend to understand it.
So if you were to ping from your office to your servers,
it's about on a T1. A good connection is about 48 to 51
milliseconds.
Point 54.
Oh, okay.
49 to 51.
Okay, because I'm getting like 6 to 8 milliseconds here.
No. If you get to a millisecond, you're in trouble.
Wow.
It's really, really. It's different than any other. The only thing I can equate it with is, like I said, ISDN. When you go from analog to an ISDN line, and you see you get 128, and it seems faster than 256. Now,
I mean, back in 1998, I've mentioned before, the law firm I was in, I don't remember what they had before. Maybe they had it before I got there, but when I got there, it was 128K ISDN.
Mm-hmm.
It was excellent.
Yes, it was. And the only time that you see the difference, that's the other thing. You will not be able to upload and download much faster. I mean, it is faster, but not much. But communicating on the net, emails and surfing and all that, it is lightning fast. I mean, when Time Warner goes down here and I connect myself to the T1, and I actually don't use the whole thing because it's got some servers on it. So I have a little slice of it. Surfing the net seems a lot faster than with the 530.
Right. But again, there are so many websites out there that have all the Google AdSense, and they click through about 14 different connections before they finally serve the page. A gigabit connection to that server is not going to be worth anything because that's not the bottleneck. Right.
The bottleneck is always along the way somewhere that it will be. I mean, really, if you had a gigabit, it will probably be faster getting to the website, but the website, when it has to go out, will hit a link that is weak, and there you go, like you're saying. That's the bottleneck. And this is why I always tell people, customers who want me to do websites, and say, don't put anything that does outside parsing of information, because you're going to slow your website down. And you're right. You start going with all these, and people are getting, I mean, it's, analytics, okay. You need to get it.
It all takes time.
What?
It all takes time.
It takes time, and that part is, I could say, maybe is important to you to get the analytics. But there are a lot of other things that people are not realizing, as far as getting banners that are coming from somewhere, as far as getting little widgets that are coming from somewhere. All these things, every time, need to get a call and go out and get it. And that slows things down tremendously. You're right.
I just posted a link in chat, a YouTube video, and it was something, Charles has already seen it, but it's an interesting little video that a guy did on how sound works. He uses a Nerf ball gun to simulate sound, to show how it bounces, to show how it affects. It could have been, the demonstration could have been taken to a much greater level, but I think that for getting started and understanding and thinking about how sound works, that's a pretty interesting link. It's well done, and I recommend it.
Now
People
you
think that you have to, in a room for sound treatment, people think that you have to cover every space in the room with sound deadening material to get rid of the echo, when in fact you only have to get rid of the places where there is echo. And you have to diffuse it. Particularly when he talks about the rounded diffusers, to show how they don't kill the sound, they just mix it up so that you don't have this really strong reflection coming back into the microphone.
now, and I've seen some that were talking about putting just foam, sort of like around the microphone, not the ball, not the ball on the microphone, but like a little.
I'm a little reflection screen.
Yeah,
that's silly. That's just silly.
Okay,
it's silly because what's going to happen? In fact, having said that, if you watch this video, when you see how these reflections are all over the room, all this screen does is block the reflections that are behind the microphone. The reflections are all around you, including behind you.
Mm-hmm.
While it may get rid of some of the strongest reflections, it's still going to pick up the reflections that are in the room. That's just not the right way to go. A good acoustical engineer, someone who really knows what he's doing, can come into a room. If you say, this is the spot where I normally do my broadcasting, the microphone is here, I want the best sound treatment I can for this spot. And someone who really knows what he's doing can take 2, 3, 4 pieces of sound deadening material, and probably with the 80-20 rule can probably get about 80% of the effect that you or I would with a hit and miss.
And how do you measure that? I mean, I'm not watching the video now, but how do you measure where to find these spots?
Think about it for just a second. This might be a little hard to do just talking it through. I saw this video somewhere at one point, and it made a lot of sense, but think about if I'm sitting in the living room, and I don't know, it's a pretty good sized living room,
mm-hmm.
and as I look straight ahead, I have an audio speaker on the left, I have a speaker on the right. Stereo speakers like around a TV. Now, if you were to go stand at that speaker with a flashlight and shine that speaker that's on the left-hand side, as I face it, it's on the left, and you shine that flashlight so that it hits me in the ear, the light hits me in the ear.
Mm-hmm.
That's the direct sound wave. But now think about, let's think like if you're in an exercise room where it has mirrors all the way around. This room is an exercise room. You also could take that flashlight standing at that speaker, shine it at the wall, and at a certain point, that light is going to reflect off that mirror and still hit me in the ear, isn't it?
Right.
That's the reflected sound. And what happens is the sound that bounces off the wall and hits my ear gets to my ear later than the sound that travels from the speaker directly to my ear. They don't get there at the same time. And that creates the hollowness or the echo. It's so fast it doesn't sound like an echo, 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 echo. It's just a real hollow sound that you hear when people say it sounds like I'm across the room from the microphone. That's all reflections. And so in that exact example, if you were looking at a flashlight that you were shining it from the speaker, bouncing it off the mirror, hitting my ear, if you walked over to that mirrored wall, put up a black non-reflective surface exactly where that light's hitting the mirror, that reflection would go away from, that light would disappear from my ear, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the same way with sound. It's not quite as focused, but if you put a sound deadening panel at exactly the spot where the sound bounces off a hard surface and hits your ear, the reflected sound goes down, and the direct sound is not bad.
So it's not a situation where you let somebody speak and you walk around the room with like a dB meter and you measure.
Yeah, well, that's just amplitude. That's not going to tell you phase. The problem you're dealing with an echo is phase, in that the sound that comes. Have you ever heard of records where they have this over the sound, the letter by the forgetting the name of the group now, but there's some of these, Jimi Hendrix would have phasing where they have this, the guitar is playing and it's, that's phasing. That's where you play the same sound on top of itself, but you vary the relationship a very tiny amount such that the phase is almost exactly the same, but not quite. And that's where that phasing sound comes from. And that is an unwanted sound most of the time in audio. So what happens is when you get the reflected sound off the wall arriving at your ear a little later than the sound directly to your ear, then they're out of phase, and it creates a combing effect, or it could be anything depending on how much the phase is. If it's enough out of phase or delayed enough, it's just an echo. So what happens is that if you sit here and measure that with a dB meter, all you're going to get is the amplitude of those signals combined. You're not going to know which one is which. You're not going to know the ratio of the two. You're not going to know how much one is delayed by the other. But what you could do with good enough hearing, and there are plenty of people who have hearing good enough, is let's suppose that I'm sitting in the chair trying to tune a room, and an audio guy with a 4x4 sheet of sound absorptive material is walking along the wall. And at some point, if I had good enough hearing, I could hear when the sound clears up, and then when he moves it away when it gets bad again. So yes, you can walk around and look for those hot spots, but you'd have to be really good, and then you'd have to move it up and down. It would be kind of like fine-tuning headlights on a car sort of thing. You got to find the right spot.
So to do what you're talking about is to understand what, physics?
Exactly. But it's not like you have to have a degree in physics.
Right.
You just have to understand reflections. In fact, I have actually seen people tune a room with a flashlight. The sound is going to follow the same path that a flashlight does.
Mm-hmm.
You stand at a certain point. The problem is, how many of these points are you going to have to take? Because, again, think about the situation I was talking about where I'm sitting at a certain point in the room. Well, I've got the sound directly from the left speaker to my ear, the sound from the reflecting off the wall hitting my ear. But now also said there's a right speaker. I'm also going to have sound from that right speaker going directly to my left ear. And I also have sound from that right speaker bouncing off the left wall and the right wall and the floor and the ceiling. It's very complex. It's very, very complex. It's a problem that once you really understand it, you can sometimes solve it pretty quickly. But you really got to appreciate acoustical engineers. I mean, it's kind of like an RF engineer, radio frequency engineer, guys who work on transmitters, tuning units, things of that nature. You have to have a whole lot of faith in what you're doing because you really can't see it. I mean, if you're a plumber and if you don't put the pipe together, you'll know pretty quickly, and it'll be pretty obvious. But if you've got a high standing wave ratio, or what you can have in sound waves inside a room, you can't see them. You have to be able to hear them, identify them, imagine that they're going to be there. And the visualizations like we see in this video that I posted are helpful to understand. Again, the physics are not complicated. I mean what I'm saying here. It's not that they're complicated, it's that they're complex. There are a lot of them. Like a spider web, you've got reflections and sources and things all over.
So if you completely don't understand how reflections work and you want to solve this problem, you're going to have to cover every piece of the wall with something, with material, right?
That is typically the solution, but that's what most broadcasters will do. The reason being, and it's talked about in this video, the reason is that was the first thought in recording studios. Typically, you would go into them. They had acoustical tile covering every square inch, as carpet on the floor, suspended ceilings. Everything was dead. They would make records, and they would sound like they had no ambience to them. You go hear the group live, it sounded nothing like the record because the record was what they call sterile. There are no acoustics in the room. And that's when acoustical engineers started saying, oh, we can do better than this. So we don't need everything dead. Let's start finding the best spot with the best acoustics and the best reflections. Let's take these reflections and control them so that they add to the sound instead of taking away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're getting really sophisticated. Now you have to have really good hearing.
I'm an audio expert, so
I understand. Math, too. Physics?
it's yeah, and it's not a problem for me at all.
Oh, okay. So
Well,
anyway,
your audio is fine, but you need to adjust your watch.
I'm sorry. We have a problem with
Nick is on what time is Nick on?
we're on the thermostat set that is auto setting the temperature time. So I don't know what the hell's. I woke up and the temperature in the house is 82 degrees because the thermostat auto set it.
Well, at least you woke up.
Oh, you have one of those that goes up and down, a automatic setting.
It's the first time it's ever done it, and of course my parents are out of town, and there was no coffee made, so I had to make. Oh, it was a disaster.
Oh no!
I know. It
Oh
was a
my
disaster.
gosh! Are you okay, Nick? Andrew's not that far away. If you need help,
Andrew, can you please help me?
you actually made the coffee yourself?
I did.
Really? I'm impressed.
Well, I picked up the thing and I was like, damn, there's nothing in here.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Amnon.
Andrew's
morning,
not
Mike.
that far away. Oops.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, good morning, Merle. Good morning, Andrew.
So, the covering the whole room in that foam or whatever is not really.
It is. I think that's what you're going to find most broadcasters and podcasters doing, because we're not trying to create an acoustical environment. We're trying to kill reflections.
Right.
So, like Stephen Haywood has his whole studio covered in it. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
If Stephen were going to start doing a lot of recording, studio recording for his music, for his band, he might not like the sound of it.
Okay. So for music, it's not good, but for talking, it's the way to go.
Let me answer it this way. Let's suppose that you were in Stephen's room and he were going to record a harp. Okay? You know, all the strings and everything.
Right.
That would sound like crap in a totally dead room, because when you play a harp, you have reverb in the room. You hear the room. It sounds like a concert hall. I mean, you go down to Maimandi Hall or some of these concert halls. What differentiates one concert hall being better than another one? It's how well you can hear. Yeah. Concert halls don't want to have sound reproduction systems if they can help it, because there is no sound any more pure than directly from the instrument. Anything that you add to it, like a PA system or music system, is going to change the sound. And so the beautiful part of a concert hall, of a Carnegie Hall or Maimandi Hall, the real trick is how well can they acoustically engineer the facility so that whenever the band plays, you're listening directly to the sound. It has the room ambiance with it. It's the entire experience. I mean, in fact, this is a good point. Think just a moment. If I don't know how valid it is, but think about if you were going to watch an orchestra play, like at Maimandi Hall, and watch a North Carolina Symphony play. You think about how it sounds with the room, and it sounds real big, and the John Sousa March, and I mean, it's a really wonderful thing. But think about then, what if while that's playing, you instead put on a pair of headphones that had microphones directly in front of the instruments? Think about how sterile it would sound. Instead of it sounding this lush, beautiful instrumentation, you'd be hearing just that violin or viola or trumpet or something. You'd be hearing that one instrument, and it would have no life or character to it, because you're listening to sound picked up directly in front of the instrument instead of the instrument plus the acoustics of the room. So in essence, and these are what the orchestra guys have always done, they have made the acoustics of the room, as they say, one of the instruments. The problem is, how do you control it? If you got a guy playing a bassoon who's playing 3 times louder than anybody else in the orchestra, you have to tell him not to play so loud or move him back or something. And it's the same way with room acoustics, and that is that once you treat it as an instrument, that is, how do you add enough of the room back in, and how do you control the acoustics within the room? I mean, think about acoustics, and of course, now everything's done digitally, but you think back to the Beatles at Abbey Road Studios back in the 60s when they did all their recording there, and they would add reverb to their vocals. And the reverb, if you listen to just a vocal with no reverb, sounds really dry. I mean, it's really dull sounding. This is why they would add reverb to the sound. And the way Abbey Road and many recording studios created reverb, they had a device called an EMT 140 plate reverb, but their best reverb was actually a room where they painted all of the walls inside, the walls, floors, and ceiling. They painted with very hard enamel paint. There were no windows or anything. It's just a closed dungeon type room. They put a speaker at one end of the room and a microphone at the other end of the room. Whenever they wanted to add reverb to the music, then what they would do is they would send the audio that they wanted reverb added to that speaker. They would then pick it up inside that live room with the microphone, take the output of that microphone, mix it back in with the music. Now you've got this reverb on the microphone. If we could play music, I could give you an example. Now it's all done. It was done later with spring reverbs and then plate reverbs, and now it's done digitally.
So that room it's not like that's where they were recording or anything. That room served only for the reverb.
Correct.
Wow.
There was nothing else in the room.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, do you by any chance remember? I give you a perfect example. Unfortunately, my music tastes are very old, but do you remember the song "Liar" by Three Dog Night?
Yeah.
You remember how the vocal sounds like it's in a barrel?
No.
All right. Anybody who's we can't play it, but
right.
Well, if you're curious, if you don't know the song, go to YouTube, look up the song "Liar" by Three Dog Night. Listen to the first few seconds of it, and you'll hear the vocals. It sounds like they're singing in a barrel. It was actually recorded with the vocalist standing in the bathroom. They got a unique sound by standing in the bathroom, and it sounds, once you know that, it sounds just like they're singing in a bathroom. And it's all acoustics. Bring all that up to talk about acoustics. What that means is that if you're going to do a studio where you have computers and hard walls and sheetrock walls and things like that, your best solution is to get acoustical treatment for as many walls as you can. Understand what a corner diffuser is, because a corner diffuser is something that... Run the stream.tv. All right, who's playing? A corner diffuser can do a lot in the voice frequency ranges.
In the morning.
Okay. In the morning.
See, Mike, you didn't have to tell me any of this.
Okay.
I mean, I already knew it all.
I understand.
Are you in trouble now, Nick?
Not everyone is as smart as you are, Nick.
Yeah, well, luckily I have a gift.
I understand. So I'm fighting another failed hard drive.
So
plenty.
For someone who did not back up the way she was supposed to.
Who is this? Is this the same person you were referencing yesterday?
Yes. And so far, the spin right has been running for 8 hours on one spot.
Mike, this is going to sound bad because I know who you're talking about, but what if you just said it's not working? Would that be the wake up call that person needs? Because
it's already happened once before.
Because I know that's the wake up call I'm going to need.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I was able to install the drive in another computer, and I think I was able to back up my documents, my pictures.
That's good.
But I looked in a couple of the folders, and a couple of the folders were empty, so I don't know if they were empty or whether that's where some of the drive damage is.
I would guess that they were empty because if there is damage, it will not allow you to get into the folder.
I suspect there were pictures in one of them. The good news is that, and what aggravates me most about this drive is right at just over a year old.
Well, Happens.
And the point here is that just because you put a new drive in to solve a drive crash problem, don't assume you're clear sailing for the next 5 years.
Correct.
Just get your backups done. I even bought a hard drive for backup, but no, that's too much trouble.
I wish the services like Carbonite and what's the other one?
Mosey. There's a bunch.
Backblade. Yeah. None of them accept PayPal. You can only use a credit card with them. Well, that's why I don't have any of the services, because I don't have a credit card.
I sort of understand that, though.
Everything else on the internet accepts PayPal. Web hosting companies accept PayPal for $100,000. I mean, it's just...
PayPal is a horrible company to deal with it sometimes.
Well, I get that, but so now they've totally locked people that don't have credit cards out of the market. None of them. They're all the same. I've looked at every single one of them.
You can go to Walmart and get a prepaid credit card.
No, I'm not paying an extra $5 to get a prepaid credit card.
I don't know how much they are, but then I guess then you don't have to do an online backup. You can. There's nothing wrong with a local backup so long as your house doesn't catch on fire.
Oh, that's the thing. I mean, we're prone to flooding and stuff here.
Yes, in yesterday's Dave's computer tips, he was talking about Karen's Replicator. That's the name of the program. You can download it. It's a free Karen Replicator. Karen's Replicator. And what it is, it's the way that he puts, really simple, set it and forget it way to back up your important data. First, you need to get an external drive to keep the backed up data. If you keep the backup on your computer hard drive, you're not backing it up. You're just copying to another folder. Second, download it and install it. Set up the backup for your files and then just forget it. It will keep all your stuff backed up. What I'm wondering here is, and this is where I don't know how it works, when you get one of those cloud drives, can you map it as another drive? Or
no, that's the problem with these. I used to do this too. If somebody was to break into my computer, they would see this drive and be able to delete all my stuff. That is the biggest reason for a while that I did not run. Amnon, you told me, what was it, second copy 2000 or whatever?
Yeah, I run second copy, but that's not the only thing.
Yeah, see, those solutions are great, but it's a drive on the computer. If my computer was to get infected and somebody was to take control of it, my backup is totally useless. I might as well not even have one.
Absolutely. No,
so I don't know what the solution to this is, because I'm not going to turn it on and off every time, because eventually I'm just going to forget, and then it's not going to back my stuff up.
Okay, so now if somebody deleted all your stuff, what would happen?
Nothing.
How much would it hurt?
Oh, it would kill my business. Totally.
It would kill your business. Is that not worth the $5 to get a charge card?
I don't know, maybe.
Nick, you do it.
But these services won't even accept it. You can't use the charge cards online. I have one right now. It's got $25 on it. Nobody will accept it.
That's amazing.
I've got them because I
got an idea.
Yeah.
Use your dad's credit card and then give him the money back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
How much is it for a year?
I mean, it's either that or
$50-some a year.
Yeah, it is only $70 a year.
That's what? Whose?
Sorry, $60 a year.
Yeah, 59.
Something like that.
Automatic cloud backup. Yeah,
absolutely. I think at this point it's unlimited too.
Yeah, I should probably get the $99 one so I can back up external hard drives.
Well, you now you're talking like somebody who's got money. The way that you solve that problem,
just copy all the stuff to a folder.
You copy the stuff. A lot of people are doing this. What they do is they have a network, and they will copy their My Documents from each computer to the main computer and call it Amnon's Documents, Nick's Documents, and all that. And then when they do the backup, it's all done in one. Yes, it's not that much.
Yeah,
more.
That's a little thing to deal with.
Yeah.
So most says check these guys out. iDrive. All right, let's see what these
There
guys
are a
know.
lot of them out there.
Yeah, the big ones are Mosey, Backblaze, SkyDrive, Crash Plan.
Carbonite.
Yeah, Carbonite.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if the smaller ones these days are actually a better deal because they are not as saturated and busy and all that.
Yeah.
The other side of that is, well, but are they?
Are they there for the long haul?
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's why I'm afraid to go with something else.
Yeah. I mean, it works great. I mean, I've been using Carbonite now for I don't know how many years. Before that, I was using Mosey. And Mosey got to the point where it had a lot of errors. Carbonite is, knock on wood, it's flawless.
Who has a promo code for Carbonite?
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, there's like sign up codes you give people credit.
Oh.
I
don't think I do.
Pretty sure Leo has one. I don't know what it is.
But it's really, really, I mean, this is...
You're right. But we've said it before, Amnon, and I think you said this to me privately. It's going to take me losing all my stuff to back it up, unfortunately.
And you're a smart guy, Nick.
I know
you should learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what smart people do. They don't stick their hand in the fire. They say, oh, that guy stuck his hand in the fire and got burned, so I'm not going to do it. And when you think about it, I mean, just your Amazon affiliate will pay more than that in a year's time.
Yep.
So it's definitely something that
I guess
I'm glad you're doing it.
Let me try with a different email address, though.
But for those of you who and then you can use that second copy, or but second copy is a commercial program. Karen's Replicator.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It looks very similar to everything else.
Yeah, it does the same thing, and you need an external drive, or if you have another computer on the network. And what it does, it's on the fly. It backs up your stuff. As you change a file, it copies it over to the other machine or to the other drive. And you tell it what you want backed up or what you don't want backed up. And it's nice to know that there is another copy there. But yes, this cannot be your primary copy or your primary backup.
But as aggravating as hard drives can be, I still wonder whether an SSD crash means everything disappears instead of some things disappear.
And is that the case I
don't know.
We don't know yet.
Wood, I haven't had one fail yet, but you typically are not going to have cell failures or there's not like a sector failure. Usually it's going to be the interface is going to die, was what I would think.
Yeah. All right, so I've got I signed up for the trial and I've got it downloaded. Now I just have to put in my settings.
Yeah, don't do it while you're on the air.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Nick. Yes, hello.
What about iDrive? Who is iDrive?
They're a service that's similar, yeah. They, according to Merle, they actually send you a hard drive to back up stuff on, and then nice coffee cup, Amnon. They send you a drive to back stuff up on. You send it to them, and then they map it, and then you can start backing stuff up on it.
Instead of taking 2 weeks to start?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, but I've got about probably 5 terabytes worth of data. Who the heck am I going to back that up?
No, you don't do that. You take those drives.
You don't need to back everything up, though.
Right. I mean, you can take a 4 terabyte drive, back it up, copy everything into it, and put that drive somewhere else. at your daughter's, at Amnon's, at wherever. Just here. Save it so it's off premises. You can even go out in the shed and put it in there.
Yeah. You know what's really good, though, about a lot of things that have changed in that, unlike 10 years ago, if I lost every bit of my email, it's still all in Gmail.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah,
At least you don't lose your email. I've had all my email.
Yeah, but something else can happen. That Gmail would lose it.
But we'd have to both lose it at the same time.
Yeah.
Morning,
Andrew.
Good morning, my friends.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
How are you?
Andrew, do you use a backup service?
Yeah.
What do you use?
I mean, I back it up to get it right.
So you use Carbonite.
Well, backing up what? Backing up the shows or backing up my personal stuff?
No, backing up your personal data, your pictures.
So all my pictures automatically go to Dropbox. Like if I take my camera, my folders sync to Dropbox. So everything that I have goes to Dropbox. The only thing that I don't back up is my downloads folder.
So I'm sorry, where does everything go then? Dropbox?
Yeah.
How much do you have on Dropbox?
I have 100 gigs on Dropbox.
Okay.
But now I just realized that Google, with Google Drive, you could actually use Google Drive to back your stuff up. And there are things like Ifit, where you could kind of program it that you could have it automatically go to Google Drive and just back it up on Google Drive. Like all my photos on my phone are backed up to Google Drive anyway, so I don't need to use the space on Dropbox.
Yeah.
For my photos, but essentially everything that I have goes to Dropbox. I don't keep any. My MP3s are all on iTunes Match, so that's all in the cloud. Everything I essentially have is on the cloud. I don't have anything local. My emails are in the cloud. My photos are now in Dropbox. My documents are in Dropbox. Actually, my documents are in Google Drive, so I don't use one service. I use multiple services for everything.
Oh, that's good.
But Nick, you don't need to use. What do you need to back up? For example,
I've just got websites, Roku app. There's just mass things I need to back up.
So I would recommend Dropbox for your work stuff.
The only problem is Dropbox is expensive. It's very expensive.
So what about all the other services there? That if you put a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah, but then when you lose a file, you're like, oh, is it on OneDrive, Dropbox?
Okay.
Every other one.
Nick, on Windows, you could download the Windows extension for Google Drive, and it actually creates a folder. And if you just drag files in Google Drive, it'll back it up there.
The only problem is it's not automatic, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah. So I think.
But if you assign, you could assign that folder to be part of Google Drive.
Yeah, I could do that.
I wonder if that would work with something like Second Copy or that Karen's replicator.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. But it's still mapped to your hard drive if somebody attacks you.
Yeah. What do you mean if someone attacks you?
My big thing is, so there's I have an external hard drive and like a USB 3 external hard drive bed, but if my computer was to get hacked, somebody could just delete all the data off the second drive or whatever that.
Who's hacking you?
What?
Who's hacking you?
Nope, nobody. But
no, he's preparing for the worst case scenario.
You look at Crypto Prevent or the whatever that crypto thing was. There were so many people that had backup drives connected to the computer, and that got frozen just like the regular hard drive did. Something that's mapped, I think, is useless. It's great if the hard drive crashes, but if God forbid you get compromised.
Why don't you get a time capsule?
Because I'm not spending $600 on a time capsule.
Get a Mac. You don't have to worry about this stuff.
I don't have to back it up.
No.
Or sign up for the.
I've never worried about getting hacked and having my stuff taken away and all that stuff. I have one local and I have one in the cloud, and that's about it. My really, really important stuff, I take it and I put it on an SD drive and I forget about it. I have an SD, flash drive or SD drive. I put it on that thing and I'm done.
Why is this?
Go ahead. I use Google Drive. No, the video turned off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why this always happens when I'm not looking.
Mike, your video's off.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I use Dropbox and Google Drive now for certain things, but
Why don't you, like very important documents, just have like an external drive that you keep disconnected?
I do. Well, it's useless if I keep disconnected.
No, it's not useless.
I got to remember to turn it on whenever I want to back the stuff up.
Again,
No.
Yeah.
I'm saying important documents. Like I have contracts, and I have personal documents. I have like a master list of my passwords. I have banking information. I've actually recently I created a worst case scenario SD card where it has all my passwords to everything. So if something were to happen, Jessica would have all the information needed for our banking, for our investments, for essentially everything. That I do not keep anywhere on the cloud or local. I have it backed up. It's password protected. She knows the password, and I never have to think about it again.
Yeah, see, you've got that kind of stuff that I don't have. I don't have banking information or investments.
Nick, it's just as important.
No, yeah, but the stuff I do is normally saved online anyway. If I lose a website,
Nick, why don't you do this with websites? Why don't you do this? Why don't you have a backup on one of the host accounts that you have and put it on there?
I do have that for the websites. I do have that. Yeah. Every week, the websites back up to that.
Now, Andrew, you just said something, and I never thought about this. Mm-hmm. As far as password protecting, can you password protect a folder or a drive, like an external drive?
You could password protect a drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
if I was to do, but I wonder how that Karen software would work with it, though. Every time it tries to back up, it'll probably ask you for the password.
It probably would. You're absolutely right. It probably would.
And at that point, it's drag and drop the file.
Again, I'm a believer of multiple backups, and I probably have about 5 or 6 different ones. One of them is a clone of the drive in my machine. And I do it about once a month. But what I do is it's disconnected. And I'll reach over, the case is open, I'll connect the power, I'll reboot, and I'll do a clone, and I'll disconnect it. So it's not just if somebody hacks into your computer. If the controller goes haywire, it could erase your hard drives. It could
who knows?
Corrupt them. So you don't want to be, I mean, it's not just from a hacker point of view. So you have to have a strategy. I mean, a certain way of doing things and saying, okay, I've got this and I've got this. Like somebody said, having one backup is like having no backup.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that statement's valid.
But of course, it's better than nothing.
I've never understood. Everybody says that having one backup is like having no backup. I would 100% disagree with that because I've lost stuff before, and I did that thing where I've had hard drives connected and doing backups, and I got the file back.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a way to make you think about it. The other saying is if you never try to restore, it's like you don't have a backup.
Well, what I had happened to me 2 years ago, I was using Mozy Backup, which I do not recommend. That
quickly, what are you using now?
Nothing online.
Oh, okay.
But other than the Gmail and things. I mean, the biggest thing I have to lose, I've got all my documents back, all my music. I have the original CDs. I mean, I've got the biggest thing that I would lose would be typically would be email and pictures, and you never have all your pictures backed up. But I've probably got 3 or 4 or 5 copies of pictures. And I mean, my wife has some on her computer that are probably not backed up. I mean, I can't get them to do what they want to do. So if you lose them, you lose them. But if you think about it, we take so many more pictures now digitally than we did in the photo days that of all the pictures we take, they individually are not that valuable. I mean, sure, you might get that once in a lifetime shot, but we used to take 2 rolls of film. Now we take 200 equivalent rolls of film. So individually, the pictures are not that big of a deal. So, I mean, it's always good to keep them backed up, but pictures have really, really grown astronomically in terms of file size. But
yeah, so you guys have got stuff that I don't, and that's where, like, yeah, I'm sure you've got pictures of your kids and all that stuff, and for me, it's like a few notepad files and a Roku app.
But see, you've got a golden opportunity, Nick, because you're just starting out on this journey, and you have the opportunity now to set up a very good and comprehensive plan and never have to deal with the crap we're having to deal with over these last 20 years.
Yeah.
Obviously, your photos are all on the cloud and on Google, right?
I don't take any photos. I mean, they are, but
okay. So
I mean, I don't take any important photos.
How about your music?
I don't own any music.
Well, how do you listen to music?
I use Spotify or the Amazon streaming service. I honestly don't really own any music.
Okay, so
I don't have any collection or anything.
So essentially, all you're worried about is
my work stuff. Yeah, my work stuff.
I believe you could set up Dropbox to automatically back up certain folders. There are applications that you could download that could do that. I'm almost certain that you could do that. See, I don't have anything that needs to be constantly backed up. Everything that we do, like for the shows, we have a server where it's redundantly backed up. So once we add a file, it backs it up. I can't afford to back up all my shows on with a service like Dropbox or Carbonite. Yeah. But technically, all my shows are backed up because it's on YouTube, it's on Archive. It's always accessible if something were to happen.
Yeah, you could rip them from YouTube if you really needed to.
My master copies. I mean, I don't keep my master copies.
There's no reason to.
There's no reason because the master copies are like 20 gigs. Some shows, I mean, if we go 3-4 hours, it's like 25, 30 gigs. I don't have anything to back up. I've created this system where I could essentially format once a month, and I won't ever lose anything without having to move files around.
Yeah, you have your personal cloud.
Earlier is about 2 years ago I was using Mozy to back up. And sure enough, on my server computer, I had a crash. It was probably 150 gigabytes worth of data. I said, okay, no problem. I'll go to Mozy and get it. Well, unbeknownst to me, for some reason, Mozy had stopped backing up my files about 2.5 weeks before that. Mm-hmm. And the files I needed were in that 2.5 week period. So I never got those back. It took me 4 hours to go back and recreate one document.
Yeah, Mozy was not. They were good in the beginning, but then they.
Wait a minute, isn't Mozy that service where you can learn how to speak English or like another language?
That's Rosetta Stone.
No, there was a thing called Mozy years ago.
No.
No, it was a backup service. It started out unlimited, and then they put a cap on it.
Yeah.
And raised the price.
And Merle says that he does that. He uses iDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox. So apparently you can back up to.
Well, I'm not necessarily. Dropbox. I don't know if he necessarily backs up to everything, but I think he's saying he uses all those services for some type of backup. And as do I. It's not like I don't use Dropbox or Google Drive, but I've just got stuff on my Dropbox and Google Drive that I need to access maybe at one point.
So this goes into something interesting here, because we're so cloud centric now with our documents, and stuff automatically goes to the cloud. Like with our phone, before when we took a picture, we had to sync it to get it on the computer. It was a whole thing. Now it's backing up to the cloud, no matter what we're doing. Is it necessary to have a 1 terabyte hard drive now? I'm on a 256 hard drive on my Mac, on my MacBook Pro. I never come anywhere near. I'm at about 100 gigs that I use, and that's about it.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the reason I don't have any documents to back up is because I don't do anything in Word. It's all in Google Drive.
Give me a same thing for me.
Yeah, but it's going to be some point in the future that one of these services we depend on. Okay, guys, we're shutting down in 2 weeks, and now there won't be enough bandwidth for everybody to get their darn files back.
Yeah, but I don't think that'll happen with a Google or with an Apple or a Microsoft.
I hope you're right.
You think Google?
No, I don't. I'm not suspecting anything. I'm just saying I don't trust any of these companies. None. When these free services, I don't trust
It's
them.
not that Google will fail, Andrew. It's Google will say, okay, we're stopping Google Drive. We're shutting it down. It's not a moneymaker.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing that. At least for the next 10 years. I don't see them doing that.
They may not. I hope they don't. I hope you're right.
But it's easily accessible. You could easily download this stuff back. I've also started getting smart. I'm not hoarding data anymore. And I was a data hoarder. I would save funny pictures. I would save documents. I would save messages. I would download emails. I was hoarding all this data, and then I realized I'm never accessing them. So I just started deleting everything. Everything I have, I would have video clips. I mean, even during the YouTube days, like I would download a video clip that I liked so I could save it locally. And I thought to myself, why am I doing this? It's ridiculous. It's all out there. It's always going to be accessible. I'm never offline. And I went through maybe 100 gigs of stuff that I just deleted that I never need.
Yeah. Well, here the thing is, it says Microsoft revealed today that they will be offering 15 gigabytes of free OneDrive storage, up from 7 gig. Office 365 users will now get 1 terabyte of storage, up from 20 gigabytes. This announcement comes after Amazon revealed unlimited photo storage for those who buy the new Fire Phone. Dropbox, a competitor to OneDrive, currently has 2 gigabytes for free, but offers more space if you refer people to the service. Google Drive offers 15 gigabytes of free storage, while Amazon Cloud offers 5 gigabytes. So there are free solutions out there, and I can see the free services going away. But what happens if, okay, so Google Drive is 15 gigabytes. How much is 20 gigabytes or 30 gigabytes?
That doesn't exist. I actually pay for mine. I pay, it's very low. I mean, I have about 100 gigs on there.
And how much is it?
I think it's like a couple bucks a year.
Okay, see? So you do that. You pay the extra, and hopefully that will give you some kind of an insurance that, okay, I'm not a moocher. I'm paying them money. That's what they ask for. Yeah, it's not much, but I'm paying it.
Yeah, let me see how much I'm paying.
So that's pretty good.
It's really cheap. I mean, it's surprisingly cheap. It may be like $1.99 a month or something.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, so I have 100 gigs. It's $1.99 a month for 100 gigs, $9.99 a month for a terabyte, $99.99 for 10 terabytes.
Yeah, that's for big companies.
But I mean, 1 terabyte, $9.99 a month compared to 100 gigs with Dropbox for the same price?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now,
Donovan says that Google Drive for work is $10 a month with unlimited.
Really?
What is it?
In chat,
Well,
Google Drive for work, $10 per month, unlimited.
Let's see. Unlimited.
Interesting. Yeah, Donovan is saying.
Oh, maybe they just announced this, actually. Yeah, this was just announced for Google I/O. Google announces Google Drive for Work and other enterprise cloud. Yeah, so I don't think it's released yet, but I guess that's the price that they're going with.
All right, but here's the question, guys. What about the casual computer users, I'm being nice, who just don't understand backups? How do we get them to back up their
Mom and
computers?
pop. Yeah.
Probably Carbonite. You don't have to map a folder, I guess. You don't have to. Isn't it just an install and then it just does it?
But you have to tell it which files to back up.
No. There's an automatic
Nick,
setting.
you're distorting. I don't know what's happening. Watch your level on your mixer, and Amnon, you need to watch on your side, because whenever Nick gets loud like this, he's distorting.
I'm not distorted. I'm hitting 3 bars on Skype.
Then it's not your problem. Amnon has to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it looks... All right, I'll look when
I
he
don't make
talks.
this up.
Go
I
ahead,
just
Nick.
turn myself down more, so.
No, go ahead and talk like you did before, loud.
Well, no. But no, Carbonite will automatically. There's either an automatic or an advanced plan.
And Dan says, do you guys really trust Google?
Well, we're trusting them right now.
The reality is, no, I don't trust any of them, but it's there and we're using it. What are they going to take from me? What information am I possibly giving Google that will harm me in the future?
But I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's not whether you're trusting them to keep your data secure, confidential. It's whether they don't give a rat's behind about you.
Neither does any other company.
No, but including them, they've demonstrated that if they decide that if they get tired of something, they'll just discontinue it. They don't care about us.
I don't understand this. Do you trust Google mentality?
Well, it's a buzzword now, and it's the same with you trust
I
Microsoft,
disagree.
and you trust, it's the same story with Microsoft in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I disagree. If you knew, Andrew, I mean, Nick is an expert in statistics and data analysis. I mean, he knows these things, and he's not sharing it with us. But as he so well knows, it is stunning what Google knows about us, what they know about this country, about the governments. It is stunning what they know because of the data collection, and that they can. Google can accurately predict where the next outbreak of a disease will occur based on the searches they see on Google.
That's amazing.
It is stunning.
Now, you look at Google. Who has got more information than Google? Your local ISP. Hello, they're tracking. They're seeing all of that stuff. People.
Listen, the way that I use the internet, I use it as if it's a public space. Whatever I do on the internet will come back to me. Whatever I say on the internet will come back to me. There's no privacy on the internet. You know where there's privacy? In my bedroom, in my living room, in my house.
Even
That's the only
there.
place that privacy exists. I don't believe in privacy on the internet. Thank you, Mike Phillips. I don't believe in privacy on the internet. I think the people that do are out of their minds, because everything that you do on the internet is there. The ISPs have the data. If the ISPs don't have it, the service has it. The website has it. I know on my website who is logging into my website at any hour of the day. I can tell their IP address. Anytime you come into my chat room, I can tell your IP address. And this is on the bottom of the totem pole of information. Anything you do is trackable.
Yeah, I agree with what Donovan just said in chat. He says, if you're concerned about what companies and services know about you, then get off the internet. I agree with that.
Unfortunately, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Now, we have to be responsible. We, the user, has to be responsible with what we're doing on the internet, what information we're giving to Facebook. If you don't want to give that information to Facebook, you shouldn't be using it.
Yeah, like Tony wrote in chat. No, I don't use any Google services, so he doesn't trust Google, but his local ISP is getting all the information that Google would be getting if you were using them. It's
okay, but hang on that one, Nick.
It's avoidable.
If your provider is Time Warner, I mean, even if they were required to do something competent, they wouldn't know how.
That's not the point, Mike. They're funneling all of that information, and I'm sure that somebody is crawling that information and getting it all. It's bound to be happening. There's no privacy, and if you honestly don't trust these services, then get the hell off the internet.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, I think that's in essence what Andrew just said. He says that he treats the internet like an open book, and
you have to.
That's the right attitude.
Yeah, you have to.
Listen, sometimes I get drunk on Google Hangouts and I put tape all over my face.
You?
I mean,
Gaffer-
sometimes I
Gaffer
get
man.
really drunk and I start interviewing my cat. You don't think Google has that?
I have those.
Nick has that. Nick has a video
Nick keeps them all.
interviewing my cat at 2 a.m.
Yeah, like he was on the radio.
and he saw a crime being committed. I mean, we control our fate on the internet. I think a lot of people are overly concerned for no reason. If you don't trust a service, you shouldn't use it. That is the loudest way you protest against something. You no longer use it. If less people use the service, guess what? They're going to change their policies, or they're going to go under, or someone else is going to come in to play where they start offering the services that you want.
Well,
but
the
unfortunately,
reality is that
we complain about Google. We complain about Google sniffing through your emails, but you know what? Google, everybody's using Gmail.
No, not everybody's using it.
Almost every single person that I know. You know what? I would probably say 99% of the people that I know have a Gmail account.
Well, that may be true, but that's not a universal statistic. I know quite a few people who won't use any Google products. Well, I'll take that back. They will use a Google search, but they're not using any other Google products.
Exactly, and isn't that so counterproductive? Like, oh, I don't want Google to store my email, but I'll search exactly what I would have gotten.
Yeah. No. The ones I'm talking about are not avoiding Google for any reason. They're just not using the services. They might have still had an old AOL account or in one case.
Yeah, that's fine. And if you're happy with a Yahoo account, then more power to you.
Yeah.
If you're happy and you... Never mind.
Are you happy and you know it, Emma?
But I mean, the reality is that we make jokes about it, and unfortunately it's not a laughing matter, but the NSA is involved in everything you do on the internet. If you do something illegal, there is a record of it. If you need to change your email address to Lois Lerner if you want all your stuff to be hidden.
Mike, you want to know the extreme that I take, and this is a rarity for me because I'm not overly paranoid about my data being accessed. Whenever I put in that SD card into my computer to add something to it, I disconnect from the internet. And if I have to add some very private information or add something, I disconnect from the internet. I put the drive in. I start adding the information, and then I take it out and I reconnect to the internet.
Well, what are you scared of, Andrew?
Well, I'm scared of Amnon getting my Social Security number.
I can send it to him. I can get your Social Security number.
You probably can.
That's easy.
Amnon knows all.
992.
Remember, I'm the local ISP. I track everything.
No, I mean, I have access to a legal service that will give me your Social Security number.
As am I.
So,
all right, so now talk about go get a Mac. Microsoft is offering a limited time Surface Pro 3 promotion via which users can get up to $650 in-store credit for trading in certain Apple MacBook Air models. How about that? Microsoft is offering... Hey, Dan.
Hey, how are you doing?
Via which users can get up to turn down the sound on your computer. Trading in certain Apple MacBook Dan, Air. Turn down.
There you go.
Down.
Okay. What's up?
Yeah.
What's up, Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of crosstalk. I don't know what happened.
Mute the live stream.
Huh?
Mute the live stream.
Dan, turn
down.
All I have is my headphones on.
Okay.
I know, but you're listening to us through the stream as well as through Skype.
What's up, Dan?
What did I do?
You got to hit the mute button on the speaker on the video.
Yeah.
On the stream, on the web.
The screen that you're watching on, just mute the speaker in the video.
In the lower right corner.
I mean, it seems like it's okay now.
hearing it, but he may have his other audio muted too.
Dan? Earth calling Dan.
He'll figure it out in a minute.
So anyway, the new promotion runs June 20th to July 31st, or while supplies last. Yeah, Microsoft doesn't have enough Surface Pro 3s, right? Requires users to bring MacBook Airs into select Microsoft retail stores in the U.S., only select Microsoft stores. Puerto Rico and Canada. The trade-in isn't valid online. To get the maximum $650 value, users have to apply the store credit toward the purchase of a Surface Pro 3, the most recent models of the company's Intel-based Surface tablets. How much does this Surface? How much is that MacBook Air costs?
$9.99 for the base one. No, $8.99 for the base one. I think. Yeah, $8.99. I'm pretty sure for the 11-inch.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
Come on, I don't know. I don't know who would do it. That's
Surface.
crazy.
They could give it to you for free, and nobody would want it.
What, the Surface 3?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, that is an unbelievable computer.
Would you trade in your MacBook for it?
I'm already in. Well, that's not a fair comparison. And
No,
I'll
I'm
tell
asking
you-
No. Andrew,
That's
we're
the
talking
service they're
about
running.
we're talking about this deal here. Do you know
so what-
anybody who will take? How much can you sell a MacBook Air on eBay or on Amazon?
Well, what
Probably
year?
$800
What year?
bucks.
Why would you take $650 for it when you can sell it for a lot more?
Yeah, exactly. No, you'd be insane.
Well,
to
actually,
do
there's an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Some people are terrified of Craigslist and eBay.
that. Well, then,
Well,
Whatever.
yeah, you're right.
I know I'm
What's the
right.
deal? I'm sorry, I had to step away.
the deal is that Microsoft is if you trade in your MacBook, they'll give you up to $650 towards a Surface 3 or whatever.
Yeah, that's a stupid deal. But I'll tell you, that Surface is phenomenal.
Oh, I'm sure the Surface is great,
I
but that's
absolutely, the Surface 3, the Surface 3 Pro, I fell in love with that computer. I mean, I was blown away by it. It's super fast. It's stunning. The display is beautiful. It's a laptop replacement, 100%.
Jason's got a Dirtbag has a deal for you. He'll give you $5 for a $10 bill.
That's a phenomenal deal. Is it a new $5 bill or an old $5 bill? I'll never forget. I saw this thing about how stupid some people are when the new $100 bills came, and this guy goes, "I'll give you $80 for a new, I'll give you $80 for a $100 bill," and they were like, "Okay, yeah, no problem." And we were trading it because it was in 20s.
oh my god.
It just shows you how stupid people are.
Yeah. Mark, you were going to say something?
Nah.
Tony said an old 2011 Model Air would be a good trade, and now it's up to $650. So
It's up to.
Up
That
to.
doesn't mean that they give you
so the
$650.
Yeah, so the 2011 model may be only worth I don't know, maybe
$300
they'll give you-
Yeah.
yeah, $300 for it. So now
Yeah.
you've got
Which a 2011, I can sell my MacBook Pro right now. My 2011 MacBook Pro for about $650-$750.
Oh yeah, I was looking at them last night on eBay, and they're a mid 2013 MacBook Pro or an early 2013 MacBook Pro is or MacBook Air is like $800, $900. It's crazy.
On the Hangouts, we many times. Okay, let's see. What happened now? Why did I put him on hold? Oh, jeez. Wait a second. Many times. Hey, Dan.
It's Andrew. You put me on hold.
Yeah, but Dan just called as a group.
Now Dan is gone.
Let me remove him from this group so when he calls back, that doesn't happen. We talk about advertising and all that kind of stuff on websites, right? Well, listen to this. One of the great paradigms of the new, or the way that Sharpton would say, one of the great paradigms of the new normal tech bubble that supposedly differentiated from dot-com bubble 1.0 was that this time it was different, at least when it came to advertising revenues. The mantra went that unlike traditional web-based banner advertising, which has been in secular decline over the past decade, social media ad spending, which the bulk of new tech companies' stalwart swear is the source of virtual unlimited upside growth, was far more engaging and generated far greater returns and better results for those spending billions in ad bucks on the new social networked generation. Sadly, this time was not different after all, and this paradigm has also turned out to be one big pipe dream. According to the Wall Street Journal, citing Gallup, 62% of the more than 18,000 U.S. consumers it polled said social media had no influence on their buying decisions. Another 30% said it had some influence. U.S. companies spent $5.1 billion with a B on social media advertising in 2013, but Gallup says consumers are highly adept at tuning out brand-related Facebook and Twitter content. So social media doesn't do anything for businesses as far as advertising, it turns out.
Advertising, it's still in its infancy, but I do think that social media, if you use social media properly, you could really improve your business. I see companies like Netgear, for example. They're really active on Twitter, and they are really good at not spamming and promoting their products. Instead, they will start conversations with people that are having issues with routers, and they're not selling the product. It's more of a subliminal thing where they're so good on Twitter and they're supporting you. When you go see a Netgear router, you're going to buy a Netgear router. I have a big problem with companies taking out ads and kind of pushing it in your face, or using social media just to promote content. The proper way to create a good message is treat it like a billboard. You're not going to go and buy it right now. If I constantly tell you to go buy it, you're not going to do it. But if you're driving down the highway and you see a Coke ad every week when you're driving by, when it's time to go buy the soda and it's time to go buy groceries, you're going to buy Coke. That's how they should treat it. Unfortunately, that's not how these companies do it. They're very aggressive with their ads, and it turns people off.
Yeah, and Twitter and Facebook are sending you emails all the time. Hey, promote this, promote that, spend this money, spend that money. And apparently consumers are not going for that. So it's a waste.
You're turned off to ads. I mean, consumers we've been conditioned to think ads are bad on the internet. It's a negative. Think of the early ways that ads were done. It were pop-ups.
Right.
I mean, that was online advertising. It's a very aggressive, in-your-face way to do an ad because it's easy to click off. You can't do that on TV. You have to look at it on television.
No, you're go stuck to the bathroom.
Or you go to the bathroom, but generally you're stuck with that ad. It's playing.
Yeah.
On the internet, they really haven't figured out the proper way, but I think the best way is going to be engaging with the users. It's going to be more work, but the return is going to be tremendous.
Well,
recently I added a bunch of people for the IIB on the Twitter page. I started getting active, and I started starting an active discussion with people saying, what do you show me your internet studio? Send me a link to your podcast. How do you do this? How do you do that? And the more you engage, the better it is. We've picked up about 2,000 followers in the last 3 weeks by just doing that. That's what people want. People want to benefit from it. They don't want to just look at it as if you're spamming them or you're doing an ad.
Yeah, and the other side of this is you have to know who your customers are. If you're selling a widget, they can be from anywhere. But if let's say you are providing certain services, you don't care that people from all over the world can see it. You want to get your local people to call you to go, air conditioning. And for you to go on Facebook and put an ad, even if they can target it, it's in my opinion, it's a waste of money. Do a good job, let people talk about you, you get much better return.
Absolutely.
Where was it? That's the next thing we need, Andrew. The more cores or processing units a computer chip has, the bigger the problem of communications between cores becomes. For years, Li Shui Pei, the Singapore research professor of electrical engineering and computer science at MIT, has argued that the massively multi-core chips of the future will need to resemble little internets, where each core has an associated router and data travels between cores in packets of fixed size. This week at the International Symposium of Computer Architecture, his group unveiled a 36-core chip that features just such a network on chip. In addition to implementing many of the group's earlier ideas, it also solved one of the problems that has bedeviled previous attempts to design networks on chip, maintaining cache coherence, or ensuring that cores locally stored copies of globally accessible data remain up to date. 36 cores. What would you call that? We call it quad core. We call it what would you call a 36? Who knows?
A 36?
No, there's got to be a word for it. Other than a number.
Guys, I gotta run.
36 core. All right, Andrew.
I'm gonna go tan in the backyard, but I'll be listening.
Take care, brush your hair.
Take care.
Take care, brush your hair.
It's amazing. 36 cores. You need a computer to run the CPU. But that would be great for streaming, wouldn't it? No comment, huh?
Yeah.
You don't agree with that?
Yeah. And then what? Have Time Warner Internet?
Yeah, well, I mean, when are we going to see this technology? 25 years from now?
I don't know. Well, maybe you will.
Not now, I don't.
What I mean is in your lifetime.
Oh. All right. Is it? It's 10:30. Is it too early to go a little political?
Uh-oh.
Oh, go for it.
All right. So I was listening to a podcast last night. It's a show that just just kind of discusses what's going on in the media, and they were talking about who's the guys that email was lost.
The girl.
Lois Lerner was the head of the IR division of the IRS. So they've lost her email supposedly.
Yeah. So this IRS email thing.
Yeah.
I was listening to just like there was just different things on people going up in front of Congress or whatever and talking about it, and they
stated that it would cost something like, I want to say like $34 million to upgrade the server so that they could store email. That's such BS.
Well, remember, this is the
$34 million.
This is the government that paid $900 and some for a screwdriver.
You could give me a $500 budget, and I could store hundreds of thousands of emails.
Yeah,
I don't understand this. How is this?
It's called excuses.
What do you think, Nick?
I think it's BS.
Okay, and what are you going to do about it?
I can't. Nothing. What am I going to do? Nothing. What can you do about it?
The IRS has a $4 billion per year IT budget.
I thought I heard 1.8 last night.
Okay, well,
something like that.
Let's say it's just $1 billion a year.
Okay.
Federal law requires them to maintain their emails for, I forget the period of time, but it's longer than the period of time that they're saving them. So, in fact, there was a guy who called into a radio show last week that he was under indictment for the IRS because they said he was cheating on his taxes, and he said that he had a hard drive crash, and they said that was not an acceptable response.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is not news to Amnon or me, and this is the problem with what's going on right now, is because the issues that are presenting themselves in this government are now becoming obvious to people like you who are not politically active. This is the same battle that we've been fighting on and on and on again, and why we argue that you should not vote for someone because they're cool. You need to vote for someone because they're competent. Now, that has its own challenges, but voting for someone because they're cool is not the way to go.
But I mean, this would have happened no matter who the president was.
Not
right?
really.
You don't think so?
I don't know. So you don't know about Watergate,
Time
where
will
there's
tell.
an 18.5-minute gap in a tape. And that's to say that any president would have had an erased 18.5-minute gap in that tape. And that's who's to say? You can't say what if, you have to say what is.
Yeah, I don't
Question.
I don't get how
Mike,
this is.
Question. Will the fact that they did lose the mail, will that create any kind of a precedence as far as the law is concerned?
No. They were already in violation of the law.
So what do we do? They're in violation of the law, and so
Well,
what happens now?
You have to understand, well, probably nothing.
Okay,
But
doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter because from a political point of view, the administration is making a serious error. They're getting involved in things that low information voters can understand. I mean, before, if they get into things that people don't understand, I don't care about politics. I don't know. I don't worry about that. Well, now, I mean, most elementary school people know how to operate email. And they're getting involved in things, and they're making their behavior obvious to people who otherwise don't pay attention. Something like 80% of the people out there realize that these emails were intentionally deleted.
Mm-hmm.
Should that matter?
Yes.
Why?
Everybody needs to know that. So they'll do something next time around.
Yeah, they'll hide it a whole lot better.
I don't get how this is.
This
is getting through.
As you get involved,
Well, you're bringing it up, Nick. This is not something you normally care about.
Well, I'm not bringing up the political part. I'm bringing it up because it's technology based, and it's total BS.
I'm speaking totally technical basis.
Anybody
right
that has half a brain could understand that each person at that email was being stored had an inbox of 6,000 emails. 6,000 emails. Time Warner gives you more than 6,000 emails in your inbox. I mean, I just that makes no sense at all.
Well, it doesn't make sense, and that's what's this problem. I mean, I can't use the language on the air, but if somebody gives you a sandwich and that's made out of chicken excrement and they call it chicken salad, it's probably not going to taste like chicken salad. And that's what's happening here. We're being sold a bill of goods and told that we need to believe it. And unfortunately, our personal experiences are such that we know better.
There is one thing here that a lot of people are not thinking about also is if you get in trouble with the law and they come for you and you are under investigation, they can come in with a warrant, and the first thing they do is they take your computers. And it happened to a few people that I know.
Sure.
The first thing they do is they take the computers. They will give it to you later on. Some people 6 months later, some people a month later. But that's what they'll do when you're under investigation. How come this was not done here?
It's worse than that, Amnon.
No, I mean, this is a little thing. I know it's worse than that.
It's worse than that because there is evidence to suggest, and look, NSA's listening to this. Don't come after me. All I'm doing is repeating what I've heard. I haven't witnessed any of this firsthand. I'm just repeating what I've heard. But if you look at the IRS told Congress, we'll get you those emails. We'll get them to you. And it takes months for them to finally get them to them. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have them. There's evidence to suggest criminal behavior by some people in suppressing the evidence, to keeping it long enough for these tapes to disappear and to be written over.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen probably, it all depends. The party not in power doesn't really have a lot of testicular fortitude working in their favor right now. But what will happen is that if it gets big enough, then people who are involved, let's worst case scenario. I don't think Lois Lerner deleted her own emails. I don't think she would know how. I don't think she trashed her own hard drive. Someone else had to be involved. And think about this, Nick. Let's just assume that it's 10 years from now. You work in IT for the government. Someone says to you, Nick, we've got to get rid of 2 years worth of emails and it needs to be quiet. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, you have to do it. Well, I don't want to do it. Well, if you don't, you're out of a job. Well, what if I do? What happens? What if I do it? Well, we'll cover for you. All right, so let's just assume hopefully you'd have enough character not to do it, but let's assume you go ahead and do that. Even better, let's simplify it. They say to you, Nick, we don't have to maintain these emails. There's nothing illegal or unethical about doing this. We are totally within our rights to do this. We've talked to our lawyers. You're not doing anything wrong. You have no criminal culpability here. So you say, oh, okay, fine. And you go ahead and do it. Then subsequently you find out that what you did was illegal. And then as it starts heating up, and they say, well, I'll tell you what, let's bring Nick to testify before Congress. You raise your right hand, you realize that everything you say can or will be used against you, whatever. I mean, whatever approach they take. And so now if you're caught lying to Congress, your entire future is in jeopardy. How deep do you go to fall on the sword for someone who doesn't give a rat's behind about you or your family?
Yeah.
At some point, people crack.
So do you think that's going to happen in this case?
It could happen if the guy to watch is a guy named Trey Gowdy.
Oh, I heard an interview with him last night. He teared some cool guy apart. Who's the cool guy? What's his name?
He's tearing a bunch of them apart.
Yeah, I listened to that last night. It was interesting.
Trey Gowdy is the guy to watch. Now, there were things I'm not going to say on the air, but he's the guy to watch. And we'll see what happens. If Trey Gowdy can't get to the bottom of it, then it's just going to be swept under the rug and we'll move on to other things.
I don't know how the mail works at IRS, but I'll bet one thing.
It's Exchange. Microsoft Exchange server.
There wasn't even one email on her computer. Everything resides on the server.
Right, but here's the thing, Amnon. They're learning that, in fact, a lot of the emails may not have been in her email, that it was actually a subordinate who may have been exchanging emails with the powers that be. They now know her name, and apparently her emails are not missing. But let's get down to the bottom line here. Let's get down to the bottom line. Let's suppose, Nick, that you've got a string of emails that tie you to a crime that would put you in prison. And I'm not suggesting this is the nature. This is purely hypothetical. Let's suppose that, Nick, that there's a series of emails that would tie you to a crime that would get you 10 years in prison.
All right.
you learn that if you destroy that evidence, the maximum penalty is 1 year in prison.
Yeah, good.
So you
Which one
destroy
are you
it.
going to pick? Well,
Of course.
is that what happened here?
Probably.
I don't know that. Honest to God, I don't know that. You know what? There may be no wrongdoing at all here. This thing may be totally innocent. I mean, stranger things have happened. But I'm just telling you that anyone who knows anything about IT, who is not politically motivated, is not buying this story.
Yeah, I don't follow politics at all. I mean, just a very little bit. And I mean, the people that are talking about what happened to the C drive. What is the C drive? Can we not use like real words here? Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. The C drive. That's what they use. They use the word
email
C drive.
system is Microsoft Exchange. You know that Exchange was on a server with RAID drives.
Of course.
You know that there is a backup plan to save emails. In fact, one IT guy was interviewed about getting the emails from the backup tape, and you know what his excuse was? You could tell something was going on. He said, do you have any idea how time-consuming and expensive it would be to retrieve a single mailbox from the backup tape?
How? Why
Well,
would
he
that
didn't
be?
say.
Why would that be? Why would that be so expensive?
Because you would have to, what he's saying, I mean, if it's depending on the system that I was familiar
From
with
a
years
tape,
ago.
it's very time consuming. From
you
a
might
tape,
have to restore the entire server and then get the email off the server as opposed to backing up those emails off the tape. And my answer to that is if you're under a congressional subpoena, that's
Right.
irrelevant. You best restore in that tape
absolutely.
Why are they backing up to tape?
because it's the largest storage medium available still.
Yeah.
But how many? Clearly, they're not holding on to the emails though. So why would they need to back up to tape?
Well, because most companies that I'm familiar with are still backing up to tape.
No, but I'm saying why? What are they backing up to tape if the emails don't exist? If
They
there's
are
only
backing up emails to tape.
Okay, so then where are the emails? Not there.
Are
Exactly.
we in a loop here?
Dirtbag
It would be
is
too
saying
expensive to get those back off that tape.
Dirtbag is saying that it's not that hard to restore stuff off of tape. I have no clue, but that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, Jason, what I'm saying is it's a whole lot easier to restore from an external hard drive than it is from tape. I remember when we were using tape, it was an ordeal to restore one file. But you do it. I mean, an ordeal. It'll take 45 minutes versus 1 minute. That's the ordeal.
See,
it's not
one
like
of the
somebody
things-
has to sit there and continuously do something. You say, I want this folder, and you leave. And it will be there after a while. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
The one comment another person said was that because their server space was consuming so much space that they told the IRS people to back up their emails to a local PST file on their local drive, and that's why her emails were gone, because she backed it up to her C drive. She had a PST file on her C drive, and the C drive crashed, and that's why the PST file is gone. Now,
C drive.
Right. Now, also understand that if we are to believe this scenario, supposedly this C drive has been, quote unquote, recycled.
Yeah, they drilled a hole through the center of it and threw it away.
Instead of sending it to data to have the data retrieved.
Mm-hmm. And Mike, you know what? If they told the people to back it up to a local PST files,
nobody would know what that is.
And exactly.
I'm just telling you what these people are asking us to believe. I'm not buying it.
If they could do, if she could go and back it up to a local PST, then she could also delete them.
The problem is these guys are getting caught in so many lies, they're going to step into criminal territory if they're not careful.
Yeah, they go from one extreme to not even being able to say hard drive instead of C drive, and then they're talking about backing up PST files. No, nobody knows what a PST file is.
Just telling you, this is what they're telling us to believe.
So okay, so
Before we get way too far off the track here.
no, I mean, so an accountant is required to keep records of all their work for how long?
7 years.
But not the IRS.
Small businesses are. I found out last night that small businesses are required, and you can get thrown in jail even if you didn't mean to.
Right. But not the IRS.
No.
They're the one that makes the law.
I like that Gowdy guy though. He made some pretty good statements. That
the media are going to go after him. They're going to try. Nick, you asked me why good people don't run for office.
Yeah.
Watch what happens to Gowdy.
Yeah.
The media, the media go after him because he's defending their boy. He's going after their boy. I mean, just watch what happens. They'll have him turn into a green monster, and he molests dogs, and I mean, you just watch and see what they make up.
So, Mike, before we get way too far off the track here, what are your thoughts on what's going to happen with this? Is it just going to be another thing? Everybody's going to know it, but it's going to die.
One of two things is going to happen. One of two things, and I, honest to God, don't know which one. I'd bet on one, but I don't know which one. It's either going to blow over or bring down the administration.
And which one would you bet's going to happen?
Blow over.
Yeah.
I think that the problem right now is the administration is trying to get it forgotten. The other side wants to drag it. They're not going to do anything right now because what happens is if they found something right now, there is enough time for it to be forgotten by the time elections come about, and they want something that will happen right before the elections. So it's an internal. It becomes political versus let's solve the problem. No, I'm going to use it for my purposes. And I tend to agree with Mike. Because of all this, it's probably going to somehow get forgotten. Americans forget real quick. Let's go on. Let's see what else is there. And they may do something that will be very sensational, but will not cause anybody to go to jail or to bring down the administration, just to make people forget about this. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
But I think that could happen with stuff that's more complicated. But this is pretty like Mike was saying. Like, I'm pretty sure my grandparents would understand that the emails get backed up. I mean, you don't have to have any political affiliation to understand this at all.
Right.
You don't even have to have you need to be able to use a computer.
Right.
Not even confidently, just be able to use a computer to understand this.
You have to also understand, Nick, that these low information voters are very easily going to say, "Oh yeah, I've lost a hard drive before." They don't realize, they don't know what a server is. They don't know what a RAID array is. They don't know what Microsoft Exchange is. All they know is that they lost a hard drive before. So, they must be telling the truth, and it's just the other guys trying to go after them for points. But part of what's going on here, though, is not clearly obvious to the public. This is not so much a matter of it's a case of where the cover-up is worse than the crime. Nixon was impeached primarily because one of the things that they accused him of was using the IRS to go after his opponents. We know that has gone on here. We know exactly that it has gone on here. We know that there have been lies told about it. It was originally blamed on 2 rogue agents up in the Cincinnati IRS office, and that has now been disproved. They know that it goes to the very high levels. And they've targeted certain conservative groups, their political enemies. I'm not so sure that this administration is the first one or the last one to do that. The one is that's what's at issue right now. But that's not even the big issue. That's not what is going on right now. The issue right now is that the administration is thumbing its nose at Congress And Congress is tired of it. I mean, there was a Supreme Court decision this week where the Obama administration got handed its butt, because what happens is that the Constitution, there are certain offices in the government that have to have congressional approval for an appointment by the president. But what the Constitution says, this is a short form, what the Constitution says is that if the Congress is out of session, the president can appoint without congressional approval. Well, what happened was that a couple of years, 2012, I think it was, it's so much going on, it's hard to remember, but theoretically, according to Obama, the Senate was out of session, so he did some interim appointments to the National Labor Relations Board, and the National Labor Relations Board, those guys who were appointed during these recess appointments, as they're called, have now rendered over 1,000 decisions. Well, it was taken to the Supreme Court as to whether those appointments were valid, because the Senate says they were not out of session. Obama said they were, and the Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, a unanimous decision, that means even his people agreed, that Congress decides when they're in session. It's not up to the president to decide. And what that did was, not only did it invalidate all of his recess appointments, but it also invalidated every decision and every opinion they've handed down. Those 1,000 decisions, opinions are now thrown out. They're void. They never existed. 9-0 decision. And so what's happening is Congress says, wait a minute, you're bypassing us. Enough people say, who am I going to vote for Congress? And I said, well, if the way we're doing things now is the new way of doing things, what difference does it make? The president, whether he's Republican or Democrat, is going to start bypassing Congress with this newfound power. What do you care who's in Congress? Doesn't really matter right now.
Mm. All right.
Let's get back to technology.
Well, this is technology.
Yeah, it is.
The point being, to finish it off, the point is that whenever you start feeding people a bunch of crap, if it's about things they don't understand, many times they just accept it at face value. Whenever you feed them something that they know better, now you're playing with fire. And what's happened is people, I mean, how do I say this nicely? A lot of IT people are not really the most politically savvy. They're politically naive, and they call themselves libertarians, and I'm not involved in that, and boy, I'm independent and all, but they really are just not informed. Now that turf has been breached, and even they can see how things are being done in this government, and they don't like it, and they shouldn't like it.
So now let's go to something else that the law did this week. The courts have long debated on if cell phones can be searched during an arrest without a warrant. The Supreme Court last week unanimously ruled that the police need warrants to search the cell phones of people they arrest. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the court, said the vast amount of data contained on modern cell phones must be protected from routine inspection. Phones may still be searched under limited circumstances, imminent threats, but this looks like a clear win for privacy. Quoting the decision, "We cannot deny that our decision today will have an impact on the ability of law enforcement to combat crime. Cell phones have become important tools in facilitating coordination and communication among members of criminal enterprises and can provide valuable incriminating information about dangerous criminals. Privacy comes at a cost." So one of the comments that I can't remember who made it said, well, that's a good thing, but now they have to live with the consequences of judges are going to have to sign a lot of warrants. Um, there was an article that said, "What do you do if you're arrested?" And to make a long story short, is don't ever try forcefully to stop the officer from searching your phone or looking at the phone. Another thing is they say to put a lock on your phone. And another thing is, especially if there are people around you, say it a couple of times that you are not allowing the cop to search your phone. You want to have witnesses that hear that. But of course, that's when it comes to going to court. You can say, I told him not to search it. He did not have a warrant. And you have witnesses, then they may throw it out. But
what are they going to find on your phone, Amnon?
I know.
What do we?
That's what I was going to say. All I have is phone numbers of people that, and not many, of people that call me and that I call. And that's it. I mean, what do you keep on the phone that is so... I guess if you're a criminal, you may have all these phone calls, phone numbers that called you. But if you're a smart criminal, you will remove all these. You will clear the list. And I'm not a criminal, and I clear those lists because I don't want to have 1,000 numbers in there. I want to go see who called me in the last day. I don't want to have to wade through. And besides, you don't know all the other ones. So what for? So...
But don't misunderstand my question here. Just because I'm not doing anything illegal, that does not mean that I think the government should have the right to have unlimited access. But see, this brings up an interesting question. I had not heard about that decision. I've been on other things, but this brings up an interesting question that might be relevant here. Let's suppose that you are what is it now? You know that it started out that if you were caught texting while driving, it was a $25 fine. Well, now with court costs and everything, and now it's going to cost you $300.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's suppose that, and by the way, there are certain things that you can do on your phone that are legal other than texting. I think it's something called the one button rule or whatever. So what happens is a cop pulls you over because he says you were texting while driving. How's he going to prove it?
Good point.
I know it's a good point. That's why I brought it up.
He has to find, he has to look in there and true.
And now if you say, no, I'm not going, you can't look at my phone.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you the evidence to prove that I was doing it.
Now, does that mean that they can take the phone, not look at it, in order for you not to remove anything and then get a warrant and then search it? I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that either. And probably that's an unanswered question with this decision that's there. Do I want the government to be able to protect me from the bad guys? Yeah. Do I want to give up every ounce of freedom I have for that? Probably not. The real challenge is, where's the happy medium? Don't know. Don't have an answer.
Yeah. It is like pledging the Fifth.
Yeah, Lois Lerner took the Fifth Amendment to prevent from intimidating herself. And the suggestion is that if she were to testify, she would incriminate herself, when in fact you are not the charge to the jury is that someone taking the Fifth, you are not to assume that they are guilty because they asserted their constitutional right.
That's easier said than done, though. If I'm sitting on a jury and I hear somebody claiming the Fifth, I mean, it's back there. I don't care how many instructions the judge gives. They are hiding something. They must be guilty.
Not true.
Well, I mean, but that's the way that I think most people will look at it.
Well, that's the way you would look at it, and certainly other people would. I don't know what the number is. I'd love to know what people in chat would think. If you're sitting on a jury and a question, the person is testifying for himself or herself, they ask a question and said, I want to assert my Fifth Amendment right not to answer that question. Are you going to automatically assume that the person is guilty?
Guilty of something.
Well, but they and
I mean,
I
it
don't
may
know
be.
if we've mentioned
It may just be a witness who says that, not the actual.
whatever, whomever.
I don't
When
know.
someone takes the fifth, you automatically assume the person is guilty.
You assume that there's something wrong here.
But if I mentioned,
which
I
I'm
think
saying-
we've talked about it here before. There's a video on YouTube by a professor called "Never Talk to the Cops," and it's a pretty fascinating video. And you may have recalled this John Benet Ramsey
Yeah.
case where the little girl was missing, and for a long time, her parents were the prime suspects.
Right.
They refused to talk to the police. They would not be interviewed by them. They would not cooperate. And what they were saying is that made them look guilty. They weren't guilty. They were vindicated. But they chose not to talk to the police. And that video is very interesting. I don't know that if I were stopped for a road traffic violation, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me that if you're a good person, reasonable person, and simple error, sometimes you can talk yourself out of getting a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're accused of a crime or something that could affect your freedom, I'm pretty big on saying I'd like to have an attorney here.
Mike, go ahead and oh, there you are. You're back. You froze there for a minute.
No, reasoning's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if there's any question, get an attorney, because I don't want to indict law enforcement. I mean, I don't think
It's human nature. It's not just
Well,
the law enforcement. It's human nature to.
There's some bad things going on. I just read something yesterday, in fact. I don't remember where. I read way too much, but I read something yesterday, in fact, about this. Oh, I do remember where I read it now. There was a prosecution in Durham, a racially charged prosecution in Durham on the Duke lacrosse case.
Yeah.
And an attorney lost his license because they said he held back exculpating evidence. That's misbehavior by a government official. It happens. Do I think it happens in every case? No, but it happens. And if you cooperate, I mean, I just watched the video. I support law enforcement. I'm kind of like law enforcement, like I am about doctors, in that I really appreciate what they do for us. They're an essential part of society. They deserve a lot of respect.
Mm-hmm.
But a bad one needs to be castrated. There's no punishment that's harsh enough for someone who violates that oath of either a doctor or law enforcement.
Agreed.
But you'll find me a big defender of both. I mean, you think about it. What does a cop make? 40 grand a year?
I have no idea.
Okay, so they make 40 grand, and they're going to go jump in front of a gun to save your sorry butt. They don't make that's not enough money for me to go risk my life, my family, my future, so somebody doesn't steal something out of your house. And that's what these guys do every day. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But at some point, whenever they cross the line, and a certain number of the cops are dirty, I mean, they ought to be dealt with more harshly than an equivalent person in society. They have a heightened duty. But at the same time, whenever the evidence is on their side, they need to be given the benefit of the doubt. That's just my little rant.
Let's switch gears here,
All right.
although it does have something to do with privacy again. You may soon get a call from your doctor if you've let your gym membership lapse, made a habit of ordering out for pizza, or begin shopping at plus-sized stores. That's because some hospitals are starting to use detailed consumer data to create profiles on current and potential patients to identify those most likely to get sick, so the hospital can intervene before they do. Axiom Corporation, is that Axiom? and LexisNexis are two of the largest data brokers who collect such information on individuals. They say their data are supposed to be used only for marketing, not for medical purposes or to be included in medical records. While both sell to health insurers, they said it's to help those companies offer better services to members. So what do you think about this now? Doctor tells you, hey, I heard you went to Big and Tall now. Gaining weight, huh?
Well, you say that, Amnon, but I got to tell you, it's a whole lot bigger than that story you just read.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot bigger. Nick, stay tuned.
Own a gun?
What do you mean by that, Mike?
I'm saying that you're going to see a lot of intrusion into your personal life over obesity. The government telling you what you have to do from being obese. But like you started to say, Amnon, the AMA has instructed doctors to start asking whether you have a gun in your home.
Yeah.
So if your doctor asked you that, what would you answer?
It's none of your business.
He said, then that means you have one. You just took the fifth.
I know. That's the thing. It's. I guess you lie.
Do you?
I'll have to be there, and I don't. I mean, I would think that at this point it's fine to lie.
Wait, hold on. Why? Okay, so they ask if you have a gun in your home. Isn't the gun registered?
Yeah.
So who cares if you?
Not a
Well,
rifle. Not a rifle.
Yeah, but what's the chance of somebody having a rifle and not having any registered guns?
A lot. Very high.
Okay.
A lot of people have hunting rifles and no handguns.
You don't have to register a hunting rifle?
No.
I guess
No.
Is that a North Carolina thing?
I don't know, but you
no,
don't
I
have to
think
register
it's
one in North Carolina.
yeah. In New York, it's different. In most
Yeah.
states,
Now, you have to jump through hoops to buy one now, but you don't have to register it if you've had one for years. Well, I've never been asked by a doctor.
not
But
yet.
if you ever ask me, you know what my response is going to be?
Right.
When is the last time you and your wife had sex? Well, that's none of your business. We're even.
I need to remember that. I like that.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Why should you not want to tell them?
It's none of their business. I've had guns and I've not had guns. It has never been their business.
Okay, but who cares if you tell them? It's like you're trying to hide something.
It's none of their business.
I get that it's none of their business. So a lot of stuff is a lot of stuff it has to do with not being people's business, but you still tell them. It's like you're trying to hide something.
Ah, but if the doctor asks a man, when's the last time you had sex, that may be relevant to his ability to treat a condition you're complaining about. That may be relevant information. You may have to answer those questions. But it's never a doctor's business as to whether you own guns. The AMA is very anti-gun. They're very politically active, and it has nothing to do with health care. They are overstepping their authority by asking those questions. And I will answer your question this way, Nick. In my opinion, the relationship between, and I've said this to a doctor, the relationship between a doctor and a patient is a very sacred relationship. Your doctor will ask you questions that you will answer that no other person, include your parents, should or will ask you. It's a very sacred relationship. You have to be able to trust them to do the right thing with that information if you have any concern at all for privacy. Whenever they violate that trust by overstepping their bounds and asking for information that's none of their business, I think they're violating a sacred trust.
Okay, and so let's say you do. What does that mean?
That means I'm not going to trust that doctor anymore. He's become more political than medical.
But okay, I'm asking you. So now you tell the doctor, yes, you have a gun. Now what does the doctor do with that?
He marks it down and it goes into a database.
And okay, so what's the problem there?
The Medical Information Bureau. And without getting overtly political here, this MIB, this Medical Information Database, the MIB, if you knew what was in that MIB about you, it would stun you. Every time you've been to the doctor and filed an insurance claim, all the details of that visit have gone into the MIB. Now, you say, what difference does it make? Because it has a positive result. Yes, and that is that if you go to a doctor and, well, let's back up. Why is that information being collected? Because you go buy health insurance, and when they have pre-existing conditions, you say, no, I don't have any pre-existing conditions. Then they pull it out of the MIB that, oh, wait a minute, you actually do have hepatitis. So now we're not going to cover you because you're going to have dramatic health expenses, and we don't want to spend the money treating you. That's what's in the MIB. Now, you say, what difference does it make that this information about a gun is in the Medical Information Bureau or whatever database they offshoot from that? It goes back to the same thing. It's none of their business. It's not supposed to be in there. I don't know what's going to happen with that database in 5 years or 5 months or 50 years. That's not the point. I don't have anything to hide.
Don't you have registered firearms already?
Well, that's none of your business.
Okay, and if you did, if you have if Mike Phillips has has a registered pistol, and your doctor asks you if you have a gun, it doesn't matter if you answer yes or no. All they have to do is search, and they can see. I'm not saying it is.
Do you see
all
what
they have to do?
Do you see what Brian? Did you see what Brian says in the?
Yeah, but they are. If Mike already has a registered pistol, it doesn't matter if his doctor asks him if he has a gun. They already know he has one.
All right, Nick's going to force me to go political here.
No, I'm just trying to understand this. If
the
you've already got a
political, Nick.
If you've already got a registered gun, it doesn't matter if your doctor knows if you have a gun or not. I don't think.
It's political, Nick.
Well, that's fine if it's political, but I don't see what the big deal is. If you're not trying to hide that you have a gun, if it's registered, clearly you can't hide it that you have it. You have it publicly registered.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
I'll tell you off the air. I'm not going to tell you on the air, but it's worse than you think.
What are you going to do?
So, because it will sound like a conspiracy until it happens, and then it's reality. Hopefully it never happens. Hopefully it'll be just an irrational fear.
But do you? I mean, is my point not making any sense at all?
Yeah, totally. And I'm going to say this. I don't mean it unkindly. I'm not being rude to you. We pick at each other all the time, but you're a little naive in what's going on here.
Oh, I'm sure I am.
Okay.
I have no experience in any of this.
That's not a criticism. I'm just telling you that there's more to the story that's here, and it goes back to the first threshold question is whether the doctors have a right to that information, and I think it's none of their damn business. And that's really my only point here. It's none of their business. And well, for example, Nick, how much money did you make last year? Don't answer it. It's none of my business. Why is it none of my business? Because I don't need that information. There's nothing I can do beneficial with it. It's your information. You're entitled to protect it, to keep it quiet. You have no obligation to tell me. But why? Why do you want to protect it? It's none of my business. I have no need for that information. And for now, you still have the right to protect it. From me, you can't protect it from the government. You got to tell the government how much you make. Now, but you don't have to tell me.
Okay, if you brought up insurance, and if the gun thing was in that database, would the insurance companies not have access to registered firearms in the state?
Yes, but what if I had a registered handgun and I sold it?
Wouldn't it be? I don't know how the registration works for that. Would it not be unregistered?
In my state, it might still be registered to me, and I don't have a gun.
Okay, I just the only point I was trying to. Yeah, that was the only point I was trying to get at.
I understand, and what you're doing is looking at things from a realistic, practical approach, and things don't work that way. So, I mean, theoretically now when you sell a gun, you're supposed to register it and all that, but there are some circumstances where you can sell a gun that you could be listed as a gun owner, and God forbid the government would be negligent in updating its database or backing up its email. I mean, that could never happen.
Okay.
this comment here, you lied to your doctor, now your insurance is void. Absolutely. That can happen.
Yeah, that could happen too. You're right.
And the best thing to do is not lie to your doctor.
Yeah.
It's none of his damn business. Hypothetical, Nick. What if I tell the doctor that that I have a gun, and then I go home the next day and then I sell it, and then they come in and to pick up my gun and they say, "Where's your gun?" I don't have it. Well, then you lied to your doctor. Your insurance is void. Well, I sold it. Prove it. I mean, it's just nonsense. That's not the way the thing is supposed to work.
All right.
Alan says that as a rental manager, I'd want to know how much a prospective tenant earns to determine whether they can afford the place. Well, Alan, I'm not sure you're entitled to that information, but if you require that information and they choose not to disclose it to you, you're free to say, I'm not going to rent to you. That you can't force it. The IRS forces you then to tell them how much money you make. You as a rental manager can't force it. You can only choose not to rent the place to them as long as it's not for an illegal purpose. And if they say they refuse to meet financial qualifications, if they choose not to tell you how much money they make, that's within their right, and it's within your right to tell them you can't live here. So that's fair. That's business.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere will rent to them without them giving a financial statement.
All right, switch gears again. Robert McMillan of Wired claims that we have gotten net neutrality all wrong. While we are all busy arguing about whether there should be regulations preventing large content providers from getting preferential bandwidth, McMillan says that not only have the large content provider already had preferential bandwidth for 10 years, but that by now this has become an inherent part of the structure of the internet and in practice cannot be changed. Instead, he says, the net neutrality discussion should be about ensuring a free and open competitive market for bandwidth so that anyone who wants bandwidth can purchase it at a fair price. What do you think?
Good. I have a non-normal opinion on net neutrality.
Okay.
I would rather get Netflix content faster than I load the Computers2KNow website.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Shame on me. I would like to not have my Netflix content buffer every 10 seconds. You know, if the Computers2KNow website takes an extra few seconds to pull up, I can live with that.
Right.
YouTube is the same way. YouTube should. I think that they should have they should have be able to have some way to get the stuff to you faster. And this whole I can't compete if I can. No, that's not what they're saying. They're not saying, well, if you don't pay us, then the site downloads it at 2K. I think it's perfectly fine. I would rather get my Netflix content quicker. And now, obviously, if it becomes like that, I mean, obviously, us complaining about it isn't going to stop it anyway. But I think that in a certain respect, this net neutrality thing isn't a big deal.
Let me ask a question this way, unrelated particularly to net neutrality, and Jason can weigh in on this one too. Doesn't 1 gigabit internet make these arguments sort of moot? And that is...
No.
Well, hang on a second. If you look at Netflix, if you look at how much bandwidth it takes, what did we say a typical 1 hour show is? 2 gigabytes?
To stream?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that much because they're doing. I mean, look at the compression they're doing on it.
I don't know. I'm asking, but whatever it is, the current infrastructure in this country is supporting it, and that's typically with what 1.5 megabits up and 7-8 megabits down. I mean, that's where we are now. And whenever the 1 gigabit systems are rolled out, it's still not going to take a whole lot more bandwidth to stream Netflix and some of the other services. Aren't these competitions for bandwidth, aren't we going to leave some of that in the dust?
Yeah, okay, so Mike, I was wrong. HD, according to Netflix.com, to stream HD per hour, it's about 3 gigabytes.
Okay, I had heard that, and I mean a lot of these shows are like 42 minutes, so I was rounding it down to 2. But Brian makes a great follow-up point when he says Super HD, and I would argue that it's going to be a long time before most people will take advantage of Super HD. I mean, the 4K TVs and all that. I mean, there's some prediction. Well, now actually, I may have to back up on that because I think we talked about it here. We were talking that broadcast television will never be Super HD because they don't have the bandwidth. And in fact, Super HD is likely only to exist over the internet. There actually is a move at the FCC to reduce the available on-air bandwidth so that they can get in more police calls or whatever they're doing with it. So I don't know. But I go back to the same thing right now. If I had 1 gigabit, and you guys comment on this, if I had 1 gigabit Ethernet internet right now from Google, 2 millisecond ping time, no caps, 1 gigabit up and down, how would my life change starting tomorrow?
It wouldn't, because it's whatever the servers will give you.
Right.
You could have 1,000,000 gigabits, but it doesn't matter. So that's why I'm okay with with Netflix being able to serve the content quicker. I want to be able to watch my Netflix content quicker.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying. Let's say that Netflix does get priority bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's because they are apportioning a limited commodity. Right? So think about drinking out of a fire hose. We're going to say that the rest home and the hospitals, they get the first water because they're in a critical situation. And then after they fill their bucket, then we get to fill our bucket. But then when the hose is so big that it fills both buckets at one time, where does the prioritization even matter? That's all I was saying.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. I don't think that analogy works for the 1 gigabit.
I like it.
Well, it doesn't.
It's not based on your internet, Mike. It's based on the server.
It's not the server.
It's the backbone.
It's the weakest link in the route that takes you to where you go.
Where is that now?
Who knows?
It's all over the place.
Jason knows. He knows everything.
I mean, it may be that I mean, remember, Netflix does not have a direct line to your house. They rely on the internet to carry their content to your house.
Yeah, they're probably paying level 3 providers to get that there quicker, right?
No, they may be paying level 3 to get it to a certain point faster.
Well, which would end up being the same thing. If they're getting it to points quicker, then it gets to
there can
quicker.
Always be a link along the way that will be very weak, and you are going to start buffering.
Of course, I had that, but
yeah,
that's not.
So
that's not.
So that's
Shrouded.
why
That's just crappy hardware.
That's why the 1 gigabit or them having more, in most cases, yes, it will help, because you want to think that Netflix is going to get more, and level 3 is going to get more because now they have more demand from more, and then the local provider is going to get more, and everybody that makes the internet is going to have more. Then the 1 gigabit is going to help you get things faster. But if you are going to certain places like Delta Force, which doesn't have unlimited bandwidth, and you have 1 gigabit, you're going to be disappointed. I mean, I was just talking with TW Telecom this week, and I said, guys, I need you to do something about the bursting, and I needed to lower the... Why? I said, look, guys, I mean, I'm seeing spikes because people have higher speeds. And if they cannot come in, I mean, if it gets more and more like this, then 100 megabit is not going to be enough. If everybody in Raleigh has a gigabit from Google one of these days, you have to have 20 gigabits in order to support everybody.
No, I don't think that's how. I don't necessarily agree with that, Amnon.
What do you
This-
think?
I don't. Why they don't have? If you don't have to. If Mike has a gigabit, you don't have to serve him the content on a gigabit. Nobody. I don't think anybody's expecting that.
Well, a lot of
I'm
people...
sure the websites I access now would act exactly the same under Google Fiber. That's
That's
I don't mean-
correct. That is
because-
correct until there are a lot of sites that will have much higher speed, and you say, "Wow, look how fast it! Look, wow!" And now
But
suddenly,
that's the case now though. Look at how quick any Google site pulls up. That pulls up so much quicker than I'm sure the Delta Force site does.
probably. But remember one thing: you have 30 megabits.
Yeah.
If I was at 30 megabits, then that is the tops that you can do. If I had 100 megabits, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah, but
To you.
know, but you're not supplying me with 30. You shouldn't be supplying me with 30 megabits.
No. I'm saying if your site, let's say, is hosted on Delta Force, and Delta Force is 100 megabits,
Yeah.
and you have 30 down, you are not going to be able to suck your stuff to your computer at 100 megabits. You are going to top at 30 or probably less.
Okay.
So at this point, it doesn't matter. Now, take 10 people at the same, and this is all theoretical. Take 10 people doing the same thing at the same time, and suddenly you can only get stuff at 10 megabits. Take 100 people doing the same thing at the same time, and you're only going to get 1 megabit. Now things are beginning to slow down because the site is being used by a lot of people at the same time with a lot of... It's like you taking the fire hose that Mike was talking about that can fill up the 2 buckets at the same time, but you are the offshoots from it that go to both buckets are at the same diameter as the fire hose itself, and instead of 2 buckets, now you have 100 buckets. Now
can't
it's
fill
not
up and all of them at full blast,
the what?
and it cannot. I know what you're
Right.
saying.
It's
I-
just
I
a
know-
matter
I know
of
what you're
the
saying
more
too,
you
but-
use. So you get. I mean, this is look. In the beginning, when I started, I had a T1, and it was supporting everybody at
Yeah, 'cause
real
you're on
high
dial-up.
speed because everybody was dial-up. Then you have to
That's what we
start
need to do.
raising it as
We need to
people
all
get
go back to dial-up.
the what?
We need to all go back to dial-up.
Yeah, right.
Netflix on dial-up.
Yeah. Maybe
even
if
watch
they
Netflix
compress
on-
it enough.
Yeah, but I was going to tell you guys that, Amnon, here, I'm sure it's this way in most communities. I don't think we do anything unique here. But in our local community, the Time Warner is the local cable provider for television. And from what I am told, the local television stations actually have fiber links from their studios to the cable provider head ends. They are not picking the signal up over the air and retransmitting it. They actually have dedicated fiber links to transport the signal from the studio to the cable provider. Now, that being said, it would seem to me that the YouTubes and the Netflix could put in gigantic pipes between their servers and the Time Warner head end, the Comcast head end, so that they really aren't using the major internet backbone to transport the signals to the ISPs. To me, that would seem to be a good way to handle the load as opposed to just throwing everything out there on the internet. Then,
True.
on the other side of things, I understood at some point, and I'm really over my head here, so don't hold it against me, but that you have the Google, the YouTube, and the Netflix, that they actually locate their servers in closer proximity to the customers, such that there might be a server farm in Arlington, Virginia, serving the Southeast. There's another one in Massachusetts serving the Northeast. These are all identical servers. There's some load balancing going on, but they really don't have to burn up all the internet backbone to deliver this video. I mean, is that going on now?
I have no idea. I don't know, but I thought then. But Mike, if that's the case, as far as fiber and all this, then why, when you go over to any of the TV stations in the backyard, they have oodles and oodles of dishes?
Because most of that is for them to. That's they pick up their network distribution. They pick up their E&G. They have a lot. They uplink things. They have redundancy. And some of the TV stations actually have probably satellite links with the cable companies. I mean, they may do it that way, but I know that locally, unless the guy was lying to me, he said they actually have fiber links carrying the signal from the Time Warner head in to the one or more television stations.
I mean,
whenever the station's off the air,
I don't doubt it.
Well, the station can go off the air because of storms and turn on the cable, and they're still on the air.
Yeah, they have to just feed like a single camera in or whatever.
No, full-blown studio feed.
Well, yeah, but if they don't have power, then...
I mean, today
they have power. They've got 100 kilowatts worth of generating power. They don't even know when the power goes off. TV's big money.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to go to RL here and see their UPS. Their
Especially
UPS.
the weather. I mean, the weather is the biggest reason that these TV stations have so much redundancy, Nick. I mean, that's next time you go over to one of the TV stations, get them to show you their backup systems and redundancies. It's amazing what they can do.
I don't like my local TV stations.
You what?
Well, nobody does.
Oh, they're all not nice people.
That goes with the industry, unfortunately.
It's amazing what they have. If they're serious about their business, that is.
Well, if they're not serious about their business, they're not running.
Huh? All right. For better or worse, surveillance technology is becoming more common in the workplace. These tools are being used to measure and monitor employees with the promise changing how people work. Though these new means, companies have found, for example, that workers are more productive if they have more social interaction. So a bank's call center introduced a shared 15-minute coffee break, and a pharmaceutical company replaced coffee makers used by a few marketing workers with a larger cafe area. The result? Increased sales and less turnover. Of course, this kind of monitoring raises privacy concerns. Whether this kind of monitoring is effective or not is a concern, says Lee Teen, a senior staff lawyer at the Electronic Frontier Foundation in San Francisco. So, isn't that what Google did in the early days? Or maybe today too. The social interaction within a company is very important. And you give people a break and they go, the talk around the water fountain and all that, take it to a bigger scale. Nice. I don't
know about all that. I don't know the answer to that question because I mean, you deal with people, there are so many variables there. I don't know that there's an absolute answer to that question because I remember, honest to God, before the internet, I remember some guru somewhere coming out with a seminar teaching managers, tell your employees that when they're walking from their desk to the bathroom, not to walk so fast. Actually slow down and speak to their fellow coworkers. Don't just rush past them so that you can get back to your desk and get back onto your job. I mean, and then the next thing you know, some guru is saying people are spending way too much time at the water cooler. It's non-productive time. And by the way, make sure that they're not discussing illegal things such as the health issues related to a missing employee I don't know about all that stuff.
Yeah, there's always it's a double-edged sword. Always,
it's always there. You know what? It's like Muzak, Muzak. background music. You go into a restaurant. It used to be what we call elevator music from the 50s, and now it's the music we grew up on. So we're now the elevator crowd. But there was actually survey results shown, supposedly commissioned by Muzak or one of the background services, that clearly demonstrated that if you go into a business and add background music, and I think this was a manufacturing environment, the research proved that if you went in and added background music over speakers in the work environment, that productivity actually increased. Okay?
Okay.
Makes sense. Logical. Then there was follow-on survey that said that if you left it in for a little while and then took it out, productivity increased again. So what's the answer? Who knows?
Well,
what is it?
Anybody in the chat knows the answers?
Statistics.
The what?
What is the old saying? There are lies, damn lies, and statistics. I got good news on this bad hard drive. I actually stopped SpinRite and skipped from the 0.6245% mark to the 1% mark, and it is running normally. So apparently there's just one bad spot on the drive, which means that most of the files should be intact.
Is Jason still here? Yeah, he is. Opera released Opera 24 for Linux. Currently, it is in testing, developer mode, and only for 64-bit Ubuntu. But hey, it's a start since everyone thought Linux support was abandoned. The Linux support was abandoned. In my test, it is pretty rough around the edges. Only has ambience theme. Ambiance. What is the ambiance theme? That's interesting. I'd like to see that. As it has been hard-coded and all the window controls are on the right and not on the left, like what Unity has. But it's a start, they say. So, Jason, did you... Oh, well, Jason is not using Ubuntu, so he probably didn't see it. Did anybody see that?
If it's about Linux, I didn't read it.
Yeah, what?
If it was about Linux, I did not read it.
Oh.
Nick is the Linux expert.
Yeah. I'm giving up with that. I understand why nobody
uses it. He's the math
it.
expert.
It makes perfect sense why people don't use it.
Yeah, and used Opera in years.
And I was trying to get Nick to go to college on this, but he says it's not going to work for him.
Well, he's already an expert.
Robert Morris University will be the first school in the country to offer athletic scholarships to students who play the video game League of Legends. It is a move that seems to stretch the definition of sports and athletes. Associate Athletic Director Kurt Melcher said, "It is a team sport. There is strategy involved. You have to know your role in the game. Obviously, it's not cardiovascular in any way, but it's mental. There are elements that go into it that are just like any other sports," the article says. Though the gaming scholarships are primarily designed to attract what the school calls an underserved male population, they are open to all. And Melcher said some women have inquired about the program. Even if the awards end up going mostly to males, he added, it should not upset the school's scholarship gender balance, which already has strong participation in women's sports. So, but that's nice. That, hey, you're a gamer? You may get a scholarship here.
It's not if you're a gamer, it's if you play a specific game and you're good at it.
Well, true. And what is special about that game, Nick?
Everybody, I don't know. I don't play it.
I mean, why do you think they chose this game?
Because there's millions of dollars spent on the game every year. There's tournaments all the time. I guess it's worth them doing it.
So it's a game that is being played by a lot of people?
I have no clue. I guess so.
Where's Brian?
It's a popular game. I mean, what are you looking for?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just wondering why. Does it
it's
require
all about the money? So there's got to be some type of reason for them to be doing it. They've got to obviously be able to either win something for it or be able to make a bunch of money from it. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Does it require special skills that other games don't?
I don't know how to answer that.
That's what I was wondering. If
it's another video game. No, there's an underlying thing. The school. Obviously, there must have been a benefit for them to do it. They don't care about people playing video games.
And maybe the vendor is providing some money too.
Probably what it was. It was probably the vendor that's like, hey, set this up.
But it seems to me that the vendor could have taken credit for this instead of the university.
Well, I'm sure they
by
could
saying,
have,
"Hey guys, if you want something, come here, do this, and you may get."
Yeah, it's just they can make a few bucks off of it, so they'll do it.
919-518-9773. Computers2K voice on Skype. Lots of preparation and work. Oh, you have to calculate all of your stats for you. All of the stats of your team. Interesting.
So Merle's not here, but he's posting on Facebook.
He's out somewhere.
Slacker.
No, he's got a life.
No, he needs to get over it.
And it takes a special person to join Mensa. For one, the elite society only takes individuals with IQ scores in the 98th percentile, meaning just 1 in 50 Americans is eligible. This exclusivity, some might say snobbery, is part of Mensa's lure. Early Mensans in Britain walked around with yellow buttons. Organizational publications once referred to non-Mensa members as Densons. And last year, a top Mensa member and tester called anyone with an IQ of 60 a carrot. In short, you don't always join Mensa because you think you're smart. You join to be set apart from most people who are, as one member put it, mundane. But a new partnership between American Mensa and online dating giant Match.com offers a new, enticing reason to join the Society of Geniuses. True love. Beginning this week, members of the Brainiac group can connect through a separate, exclusive dating service called Mensa Match. In addition, Match.com members can add a special Mensa badge to their profiles, signaling a specific interest in connecting with a single person with a confirmed genius level IQ score. Do real smart people have a problem finding a mate? Anybody?
I didn't.
Nick is... Huh?
Oh.
What is he talking about?
Sorry, I'm doing something.
That's
What
all
are you
right.
doing?
Writing something.
Well,
That's okay.
maybe we're done, Amnon.
Maybe we're done.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any more. That's it. That was my last
That's it.
story.
Yeah, I'm done here too.
Okay.
I'm actually hungry.
Dan, like I said, send us some more gears and we'll be able to switch gears more often and have more gears to talk about. Arnie, yes, we hear from Spence through his Facebook page. What is it, Nick? Do you know?
News Chronicles.
I'll post it.
The Moose art. Yeah. And
If you're
he's
on
doing
Facebook,
fine.
You can just follow him and you'll see what he's up to. He's chasing Mises.
There, I posted the link to it if anybody's interested.
Do we know who Jerry Lee Lewis is?
No. Have a clue, but we don't know for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Let's end it. It's nice outside. I want to go outside.
Yep. I want to go finish watching
Oh, geez.
show while I eat.
Mike, you're ridiculous.
Why am why am I ridiculous, Nick?
All you do is watch TV now.
He's on
That's
a
not
binge.
true.
He is on a binge. He
That is
doesn't
not true.
always do that.
That
False.
is not true.
I have not heard you say one thing about woodworking. That means that you spend all your time now watching TV instead of woodworking.
Right, because I gave up on woodworking.
No,
Why'd you
you
give up
did
on it?
not.
I did. I gave up on woodworking.
Why?
Well,
You don't
Dan,
wanna talk-
If you want to talk about it, if you'll call real quickly, that's fine. The only reason we're ending the show is because we don't have anything else to talk about. I don't want to sit here and waste time
Right.
any more than we've already done. If you got a topic, bring it up. But to answer your question,
Wait, are you insinuating that we've wasted time?
no,
I believe you are.
no. Anyway, but Amnon, the tools that I have to drag them out every time I do anything. And to work on something multiple days, I would end up leaving things sitting in the living rooms because I have to work on them on the deck.
Right.
Then it got into these major rainstorms, and
Okay.
I was dragging
Okay.
stuff in, dragging it out, and I finally said, screw it, I'll wait till I get a shop.
Okay. So you didn't give
Theoretically,
up on it. You put it on the back burner for
It's
a while.
on the back burner. I
Okay.
absolutely would love to do it. It's something
Okay.
that really intrigues the heck out of me.
Yeah.
But it's more trouble than it's worth right
Because
now.
I was going to call you yesterday or the day before yesterday. I saw something that they're selling now at Harbor Freight. It's,
Harbor
it's
Freight?
some kind of a wood saw, that has two blades that spin against each other. One forward, one backwards.
Mm.
And supposedly it's supposed to cut a lot nicer. It is sort of like one of those buffers. It's not like a circular. It is circular, but it's not like the regular circular. So you hold this one with both hands, kind of, and it's open.
Yeah.
And the video shows amazing. The cut
Right.
is smooth as I don't know what, but it's
Molasses.
It could be. I mean, there's some really interesting in the technology of tools. What happened is the reason I got so carried away with this stuff is because I'm one of these guys who likes to think it all the way through before I even touch it. I mean, I used to go to sleep at night trying to figure out ways to explain mix minus to people who were hard to understand things.
right.
And but a lot of the tools, people look at classic or older power tools, and they say, "Oh, the old stuff's better." But the fact of the matter is, there's some research and some technology that are happening now that are really improving the way things are being done. And I mean, back in the old days, you used to cut things within a 1/16 of an inch. Now they're doing it measuring in thousandths. Not that the wood. I don't want to get into woodworking, but I mean, it's an interesting time. We now have table saws that you can take your thumb and touch the blade, and you won't lose your thumb because the blade will actually stop. It's called a saw stop.
Yep.
We'll learn things like radial arm saws are dangerous. They're for most people not worth the risk that you have associated with the reward is not worth the risk. But these are all personal opinions. Different people look at things different ways.
Dirtbag saying, actually, there's a groovy, cool new wood splitting axe now.
There's a new one every year. It's got a narrow head, then it's got a triangular head, then it has wings that pop out, and then the wings that pull in. I mean, there's always one. But by the way, Dan, the MKH 416. If you decide to order one, they're $1,000 a piece. If you decide to order one, make sure you get it from someone who will allow you to return it. The reason I say that is because it works magic on some voices, and it's no better than an ATR 2100 on others. I know a lot of people talk about, well, yeah, I can't hear the difference in this microphone versus that microphone, and a lot of times that's true. Depending on how much resonance there is in your voice, the MKH 416 may not make any difference. And in fact, my voice, I don't have a really high voice, but I don't have a really deep voice either. The MKH 416 is marginal on my voice. But I had a guy, I don't know if Amnon remembers him, Dale Van Horn, who had a beautifully deep voice, and it was total magic on his voice. If I can find the voice tracks, I may play them one day. It was so good on his voice, it was unnatural sounding. Now, the MKH 416 is called the Ernie Anderson mic because the guy who did The Love Boat his guy's name was Ernie Anderson. He made the MKH 416 famous. And I actually have been communicating with a guy who was one of Ernie Anderson's engineers in the day, and he said that they had to equalize the heck out of the 416 to get the sound that Ernie liked out of it. So take it. I don't believe in equalizing microphones unless you're a pro and know what you're doing. I don't equalize them. I use them. I find one that sounds the way I like, and that's what I use. So take it with a grain of salt. Don't go out there looking for the magic microphone that's going to solve all your problems and make you sound like Casey Kasem. It's not out there. The differences between microphones for most people are very subtle. If you got the money, you're looking for a sound, you find one you like, go for it.
This got to be Gary there.
It is.
All right. Are we done?
Yep.
All right. Thanks,
Check
guys.
out my new website.
The what?
Check out my new website.
First of all, I'm glad you said that.
If you live in the Albany, New York area, check out my new website. I know we've got a very large Albany audience on the show.
Would you care to give out the URL?
It's albanystorms.com. Check it out.
albanystorms.com.
With an S.com, yes.
With an S.
And
Is this the perfect storm?
And if you want to see Nick's work also and
yeah, so everything else is there. It's fine.
And help him maybe get out of a job. So
help him? Why would why would
you'd rather sit at home? You'd rather sit at home.
Why would you say help him? Like they have to donate to my service?
It's not a donate.
We feel
It's not
sorry
a
for you.
donate. Why are you looking at so negative?
Well, you say help him, like
because
if
I know that you. I
this is
know
ridiculous.
that you
I'm
don't
not a
enjoy
shitty.
waking up
See?
every morning.
Should have ended 10 minutes ago.
I know.
Yep. All
Bye,
right. Bye,
everybody.
Bye.
Rage quit.
Bye. Bye.
So good morning. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Mike. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. As always, we'll be back here next Sunday at 9. But you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And while you're at it, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I see a lot of subscription. I don't see any likes. I guess people don't pay attention to that.
They don't.
Tomorrow morning at 11, it's the Health In Show. And there's not going to be a breaking free, but Tanya will be here at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Eastern. See ya.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers2KNow with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.